Hey, stream viewers!
Alright, so unfortunately we're going to be down a player. Artemis isn't feeling it today. So we're going to be doing this session, at least for the time being, just for the 5 of us. Right. And we are in session 2.
You said this was mostly just a town session, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Time to go TM hunting.
Oh yeah, also forgot.
Let me actually bring that up.
Alright.
Okay. Journal entry is up and ready.
You want to do yours to 8,000?
Yes, please. Would you like to go first, Bryce, or...
I can go first.
Sounds good.
Whenever you're ready.
Wait, now? Or you want to wait till more people get here?
On
It's
what?
up to you.
I mean, like, what's he supposed to be doing first?
Both me and 8,000 decided to pick up journal entries. Just
Oh.
writing. And
Gotcha.
we were deciding, we couldn't really come to a decision on whether or not we should read one or the other, so we just let's just read both and see what comes of it.
Padrock is pretty short.
Yep, gotta scribble in that little notebook while he's being stared at from the abyss. Scary.
It is a little scary.
I was not expecting Zach to add those eyes.
Panic writing.
Yes, I know I'm live. Thank you very much, Stream Elements.
You can set the game to tabletop RPG if you want to set any game at all. Actually, I could probably do that.
I tried, I didn't see a way to do it. Yeah, I don't think there's a way to do it. Also, it helps if I get the stream loaded on my laptop so I can monitor. Had no idea I was live. So weird. Oh yeah, I gotta set the announcement too. That might help.
Oh yeah.
You try this. Okay.
Announcement is posted.
Alright.
Huh.
Hmm?
No, I'm just trying to figure this out.
Yeah, I might be alive, maybe.
See, live, sure. Alive, debatable.
That's always debatable. Alright, so... Thanks, Yoda.
Alright, Yeah, I can go ahead and do this then.
Yeah, you can go ahead.
Let's see, where did I put the session, the journal entry at? There it is. Entry number 2. Oh, I am in so much pain right now. Today's was our first mission. A concerned Delphox lost her son to some bandits and wanted help finding him. This kid's name was Padrock. Sought after for his training or something. Either way, he was in a bad spot, and we had to get him out. I won't bore you with the details of the dungeon crawl, but there were a few things interesting that happened. There was this nasty gorge with this Pokemon that kept hitting us. This thing was brutal. Like, it hit me at the beginning of the dungeon and knocked me senseless before we even got out of there. Oh, when I find that thing, I'm gonna fry it, I swear. Anyway, there was this round Pokemon, an Igglybuff. It was near an Oranberry. As much as I wanted it, as much pain I was in, I left it alone. It wasn't mine. I recognize that. It decided to give it to me. It saw that I was in pain and decided it was better for me to have it than them. I wasn't expecting that. I guess not everything in the forest is a threat. I thought they were all feral or just mindless things, but I guess they're just as sensible as us. Even still, though, I feel that Apollo was too trusting as we went through there. Like, what if we ran into one of the members of those bandits? He was just asking anyone and everyone that we saw, and just anyone and anyone there could have been one of the guys we were after. Like, we could have given us all away. Though, speaking of those bandits, they call themselves Team Darkstorm. Team Darkstorm. It bothered me. I'm not sure those were bandits. Was it a rescue team? Maybe? Maybe they just gave themselves that name? I didn't see a badge on them or anything, but they seemed pretty intent on coming after us again, shouting about, "We haven't seen the last of them," or something, you know? I know how this works. We're gonna have to be wary about those guys as we continue this. So hey, mission complete. We all took some hits, and we may have a new team member. Now there's 2 Finnegans. Why? I don't know. It didn't make much sense to me either. Apollo's just that kind of guy, all heart, never seen the other side of the world. Eventually he will. Now the painkillers are wearing off, so I'm just gonna have to ride again later. End of entry 2.
Alright.
Eric pause noise.
Fantastic.
All right. Diary entry number 1. What have I gotten myself into? If only I had the darn sense to keep my mouth shut. But I've practiced that damn line so much it just slipped out. I've gotten responses of amazement, skepticism, denial, but violence? Violence is a new one. I would have been deemed Darkstorm's punching bag if that rescue team hadn't shown up. The Shinx alone slammed me so hard against the tree, I'm surprised I didn't faint. Unfortunately, one of my rescuers wasn't so lucky. Poor Levi. Just as the team was about to round up Darkstorm, a nasty-looking fish distracted heroes long enough for them to get away. I just hoped to avoid a rematch. When we got back to the rescue hall, I ended up making the dumbest move of my life. In a bid to escape the endless study of mysticism, I made a move to join the guild, getting myself placed on the same team that saved me. What am I doing? I'm not trained in battle. For someone who's supposed to be Cassia's next Grand Seer, I clearly don't have any foresight. Can't sleep. I'll see if I can borrow some money to buy a mirror in the morning. End of diary entry 1.
All right.
Nice.
Hurry, Fra. So, with that, we can move on to the town.
And don't worry, Frau. We may find a friendly Shanks.
We'll see.
We'll see.
All right. So, morning has come. The team starts waking up. And how are we going to start the morning?
First, Apollo is going to roll onto his back, stretch out, and like Jack and I have both his forearms and his hind legs up into the air before rolling his way off the bed. And it looks like you are going to be a heavy sleeper again. Rest well, Caster. Apollo says before stepping away from his bed and heading around the room.
You'd notice Alavi is sleeping in a not so comfortable position for most ferals or quadrupeds. Sitting with on his back.
That
And
cannot be comfortable at all.
You'd be
Paul says-
surprised what I consider comfortable. Normally, I'd be on a solid surface.
Well, you'll definitely feel the difference if you look around at how Paddock was sleeping just now.
No, I think I'm fine.
All right.
That
Yeah.
said,
As-
where are you heading?
As Apollo approaches, Padrock uncurls from Padrock's ears rise from the bowl he's curled himself into, his head lifting up to greet the approaching Absol. Oh, morning already?
Yep. Rise and shine. Well, unless your name's Caster, in which case you can be stubborn and sleep in.
Have you checked on Levi?
I'm
Levi.
here.
Yep. How you
I'm
feeling?
I'm going to the doctor.
Good call.
soon you hear a light tapping on the door as if there was a firm claw being applied.
Paddock, you can get that?
All right. Padrock opens the door, moving up on his hind legs if needed to reach the latch.
Morning, you guys.
Morning, Guildmaster.
Morning.
Oh, it's you again. Hi there.
Sorry, so you guys slept well.
Well, for the most part, Caster's still sleeping, and I think I'm going to let him sleep in.
Yeah, after that mission, you guys kind of deserve it. Levi, how you doing?
I said it once, and I'll say it again. I'm going to the doctor.
Well,
How far is the doctor?
I'll show you. Apollo, do you mind?
Not at all.
On my back, please.
Sure. One moment. Okay. I'm here.
All right, off we go.
The doctor is the same as a healer, right?
Yep.
Yep.
I might be able to help somewhat.
We have a
Well-
well-experienced clinic in town. Also, Alavi, you're walking on the wall.
Oh. Just gonna Spider-Man's it.
But yeah, we have a pretty well-experienced clinic. His name is Anik.
Met him a few times.
He also has an apprentice, a Zoroark named Zane. But it's just a little ways down the road. Won't be long. So
That character, do we have music?
Yes. I was actually gonna wait to do that until we got out.
Won't be long, they say.
It's not that long of a walk.
You know, I didn't get to say this yesterday, but this place is big.
Yeah.
Yes, for someone that has longer legs than the both of us, I'm pretty sure it wouldn't be considered long.
Well, 30 years ago when this place started off, that was the Guildmaster's house over there.
Was.
Well, he's kind of dead now. My dad knew him.
So it's still a Guildmaster's house, correct?
Well, I mean, in his will, he left it to my dad, so kind of nice of him, but I guess the two of them were actually pretty good friends.
He just turns back to see Patrick's just very slow behind him. Patrick, is there something wrong?
Out of character, he's following along fine. Roll 20 is just being slow for me.
Oh.
Yeah,
are you running
Roll 20
anything out?
should have died for me a moment ago. I'm here, though.
Are you able to move now?
Like, it's like showing me like the constant hot.
You might need to
Just-
refresh the page.
Okay.
Got it working?
Refreshing now.
That's
Good.
sad.
There we are.
Alright.
Let's just hope it doesn't.
If you wish, Bryce, you can play certain Ninetales that's near the area.
Hold on. Huh? Oh, hey. Ooh, that doesn't look good. Hey, Anak.
Yes?
Probably get to him. The one on her back.
Ah, yes, Levi. Come quickly.
Oh. There we are. How are you doing today?
Alright, off you go.
Thank you. Okay. Still in a lot of pain, but otherwise I'm fine.
Olivia's just kind of walking into it, not realizing where he's even supposed to be. He's just looking around.
You can see plenty of medical equipment. Some might be familiar, some not. But this is very clearly a clinic. And a well-established one.
I feel like I should know some of these things.
So you took a beating, didn't you?
Yep. We got into a couple of fights in our first actual mission. We went after one of the Finnegans outside. There was a water type that got the better of me. As embarrassing as that is to say.
It's not embarrassing when it's a second evolution. Or
Well,
first.
we once had a Ninetales who was one-shotted by an ice type, so happens to everyone.
I remember
the
my dad
irony of
telling
that.
me about that story. Now, the rescue was alright. Anywho, shall we take a look?
We shall. Alright, so...
That's a big
what was
needle.
her name again? Elizabeth,
Well-
can you use your aura to check for any contusions? Any fractures in the bones?
Certainly. All right, Levi. Hold very still for me. This will only take a few seconds, and it shouldn't hurt.
I'll hold you to that part about it not hurting.
Oh, come on.
Limsilla just grins.
Olivia just watches intently at what's going on.
Elizabeth can see tiny hairline fractures in the ribs, and that's about it in the case of internal injuries.
Well, yeah, definitely took a few hits on right over here on your third and fifth ribs right here. Not going to poke too hard. Well, what we could do is I could put you on an ibuprofen regimen, 4 of these in the morning and another 4 at night. Just make sure to keep the inflammation down. Don't run around too much or try and do anything too drastic, and that should be able to heal on your own. Though, I would put a cast on this if you're just going to be sticking around all day, just to make sure that stuff stays relatively still.
As much as I'd love to say that I'll be around all day, I don't know if I will. I need to make sure that I'm ready to head out at a moment's notice.
Rain has instructed us to keep you in town for the day.
Oh!
Now, even if Rain hadn't said it, I'd be saying it. Doctor's orders, after all.
Of course.
Right.
Alright, well.
I'll take the bandages then, or whatever you need to do to make it... Whichever option's the fastest way to heal it.
Well, just the ibuprofen and the cast should be enough. As long as we keep the swelling at least managed, you'll at least be a little more comfortable while this is healing, and it's not going to heal improperly. And how did I do?
You did quite well. You're learning.
Thank you.
So, I will go get the bandages, if you will, get the ibuprofen. Should be in that shelf over there.
Alright.
Olivia is still watching very intently at what's going on. It's like he's trying to learn what they're doing.
Allura is looking over at a very well-stocked shelf full of various bottles and other types of medicine, and grabbing seemingly like one bottle out of all of them, and then measuring the tablets out.
Meanwhile, Anik rummages through the supplies here and grabs a single roll of gauze and some tape. Alright, could you set up for me a minute?
Certainly.
Oh, sure.
Alright. I'm just going to move this pillow just like that to make sure you're properly supported.
As he sat up, he's just breathing that much softer, like with shallow breaths, because he's trying to hold the position.
If you slowly exhale while you stand up, it'll relieve some of the strain of you moving.
Oh, that helps. That helps. Thank you.
Alright. And he just moves forward, slowly starts wrapping the gauze around Levi's chest, and then applies the tape. Alright, now if you may, just take the pills from Elizabeth.
Here you are.
These... Anybody have water?
He points at the glass of water that she was holding.
Oh, right. Sorry. So he'll take the glass of water carefully, as well as the medication, and just take them both at the same, well, almost at the same time. Take the medicine first, then the water.
It's probably not going to taste very good, but it'll help alleviate the pain, at least for the time being.
I've tasted worse things, thankfully. Well, I'm not sure that's a good thing or a bad thing.
I'm not sure what the equivalent of eating moss is.
You'll need at least another 4 of these tonight, and then another 4 tomorrow morning. Other than that, you should be fine.
Sounds good.
So just take a few minutes to rest, sit down, and let the ibuprofen kick in, and you should be okay to go as long as you take it easy.
Got it. Yeah, I'm just gonna stay put.
These practices are very different from what I'm used to. Usually we would just grind up moss and then have you drink that.
Now, that can be very hit and miss, depending on which moss you end up picking up. Some of those things do indeed have medicinal properties, but, well, they have other properties that can sneak up on you. If you're not careful, you can solve one problem and create another 3.
Thankfully I have a good nose.
Well, sometimes that's just not enough.
Perhaps. It's worked so far, at least for me, whenever...
No. Alavi has a point. Having a good eye for forestry is a very useful thing and when you're out in the woods for a long time. But rather than just moss, I'd also include mixing berries in. It helps out to get rid of some of that risk, especially patcha berries.
We have
Everyone's-
medics. We have medics where I come from, and they often went out to the forest to go find berries.
Though, I will say, even with such things, as you said, it is hit and miss.
I never once thought to use berries. I might try that next time.
They're quite helpful. Natural, and they're not quite as painful as using potions, and they tend to be better for your health over long terms. Hedrock, Apollo, could you come in, please?
Sure. Come in.
Sure. This is a nice place.
Okay, so Rain has instructed me to give you your daily pay for the mission. WO, Apollo, 400.
Thank you.
Ruby's
Hedrock?
just looking around confused. Pay?
Yes, rescue teams get paid for their work. Sometimes it may be from the client, but oftentimes it's from the guild.
It's kind of embarrassing to mention. I never once had to deal with pay.
Well, when you're living in towns, it's pretty much the main currency that we have.
I mean, I'm used to the usual trade for goods, but I don't recognize this coin. What is this coin?
It's got a pokey.
Well, think of it like this. Let's say person A has a bunch of berries. Person B has a few iron spikes that they can use as weapons. Person C has ready access to water as well as a way to filter it. Now, if each of them wants something that the other one has, they could try bartering it. But what happens if that person doesn't need what they have? Well, the answer is to have some sort of universal token for denoting value, which takes a lot of the guesswork out of bartering and makes life a lot easier for people to get something that they need to get reliably.
Strange. But that would probably explain why there was one time that somebody tried to offer one of these. I didn't recognize it, so I turned it down at the time.
Well, if you've been living alone this long, I can't say I'm surprised by that. Don't worry. I'll make sure that if that subject does come up, I'll make sure you're at least well advised on the decision you're about to make.
Such as whether if something is more worth than it actually is or less.
Yeah.
This real quick.
Well, on the bright side, the beds are comfy.
Well, we do take care to make sure they're, well, up to code, as you might say.
You said it was 400. Is that a lot?
It
I wouldn't
depends
say
on
it's a
what
lot, but it's definitely something.
It depends on what you want to buy. I'll be sure to leave the other 400 for Castor when he wakes up.
Thank you. I was about to ask about that.
Dear Padrock, we've spoken to your mom, Rain and I, and we decided that you will be a permanent member of the team. So you'll be working with Apollo, Levi, Castor, and Ellery.
Gonna pull something off screen.
Hmm?
He does perk up a bit. He does look a little nervous, but overall, excited with the news. I'm glad to be aboard.
Out of character question, was that 400 for everybody?
Yeah,
400 each.
Yep.
Where do you put that?
On the character sheet, you can go to I'm sorry, Lacey.
You go to the very bottom of your character sheet, and there's a slot for money. You just put it in there.
Oh, okay.
Out of character, does that include Padrock too, or not?
Yeah. So Lancillo gives Padrock the 400 as well and says, you may have been the client, but you're still part of the mission. You did fight off the team, so we figure you should be paid for it as well.
His eyes sparkle a little bit as he looks at the money, feeling it in his paws. Thank you. I'll try to spend this well.
She smiles and gives a nod to him. I'm sure you'll find a good use for it. And with Apollo's guidance, I'm sure you'll be just fine on the team. She looks over at Anik and is like, I'm sure you've got it from here yet? And he's like, of course. I just got some papers to fill out, and they should be good to go in a little bit. She gives a low bow to him and then nods to the others before giving him farewell and then walking out back to the guild hall.
Well, since she's gone, hey Padrock,
Yeah?
be it when I get out of this bed, or one of the others, we'll give you a walk of the town. Or at least this side of town.
This side of town?
Yeah, there's a few more houses and other places to the south side, but I wouldn't worry too much about that. This side is where everything happens and where all the rescue team stuff occurs and all that jazz. Right, Apollo?
Mm-hmm.
Wait. So if it's not houses around here, what are the buildings?
Shops. There's a tavern that Castor's grandmother runs. And there's also a bank down the street. And the Caglion brothers have a setup here.
He looks over at Apollo. You have an actual Caglion setup?
Of course.
Unfortunately.
Is that important?
Well, they're a one-stop shop for just about everything you didn't realize you needed until you see it for sale in their selection. They're also pretty good at loss control.
Then
I've seen them
you would-
buying
then-
supplies.
Then,
Yours?
as you said, if I don't know what I am to purchase, I should go there. At least to see.
Yeah, they might have something worth selling over there. So if you're looking for more specialized stuff, we obviously sell medical supplies here. Elizabeth can tell you more about that. Just across the way, there's Sunrose and her berry farm.
I'm not sure who's talking. Is it Apollo or the Lucario?
Apollo.
I've seen Kexleon buying supplies for their shops, but I think this will be my first time seeing one of their stands.
Over here, Anak is just wearing a small strap on his flippy because it doesn't have any fingers, and the strap has a pencil attached to it that he's using to write.
All right.
Eventually, Levi does start to feel some relief in his chest, as well as his other muscles.
Well, just make sure to keep that cast on. Nice, easy breaths, and you should be good to walk around town if you need to.
Right. Good. As nice as this bed is, I can't stay put for too long. Thank you.
Not
All
a
of you.
problem.
Now, let's take a look. Let's take a proper tour of the town, shall we?
Please.
Well,
He seems to be dancing on his paws, just to do tipping tapping.
tippy tappy.
Just about, like you see his legs doing the bounce without completely lifting into the air.
Elizabeth, there's some more Earl Grey on the shelf. You can take that in and take a break if you need to.
Sounds like a lovely thing to do. Thank you, Anak.
So, I guess I'll go ahead and take the first part, since I imagine me and Apollo are going to be sharing this, since Caster's dead to sleep. These two shops are going to be for our berry and medicinal needs. As you just saw earlier, Anak's the one that runs the medicine shop, while Sunrose over there, the Draconic Whimsicat. Yeah, I know. It looked. They are also type changed, by the way. They run the berry stand.
Immediately takes- Sorry.
General just sort of smiles at the new Finnegan. Oh, you're so cute. I've never seen you before. What's your name?
He looks at her, eyes wide. I'm Rockets. Nice to meet you. I'm. Wow. Second Pokemon I've seen in days. Is that your garden over there? And he points over into the distance.
Oh, you mean that one up there? Yeah. Apollo helped me
Yeah, you
grow
can
it, as well as that Ninetales over there, Jericho.
Wait, you helped her? He turns to the leader of the group.
Oh no, not that Apollo.
Yeah, I'm named after him.
Oh,
This is gonna get very confusing very fast, isn't it?
Not really.
Out of character, what types were Sunrose again? Just for future reference.
Dragon and Fairy.
Dragon Fairy. Alright. Good to know. So she looks at the team and is like, you're missing a member.
Yeah, Caster's sleeping in right now.
As usual. Well,
Probably for the best of us.
if you need any berries, I've always got some for sale.
I'll definitely keep that in mind before I head out next.
Yeah, I'm gonna just let this heal before I go too far and try to get more than what I need. I'll hold on to it for now. But thank you.
Yeah.
That's it. Padrock,
Yeah?
depending on what you get here, well, depending on what you buy here will determine the price of it. And I suppose for you as well, Aluvi, this is something you need to know. For example, the berries that most would call everyday conventions, as in it's a nice thing to have, really easy to come by. Those are going to be your orange berries, your pecha berries, your cherry berries, those things. They're going to be about 50 poke. Meanwhile, the things that are a bit more specific or important are going to cost more. For example, the Reviver Seed costs around 2,000 poke, while say a Lepa Berry, which can heal. About help me out here. A Lepa Berry heals any status condition, right?
Lepa Berry will actually restore the use of a more exhaustive move.
Oh,
What you're thinking of is a Lumberry.
got it. See, this is why we're working together on this. I make mistakes too.
Generally, she sort of waves to you, right? Psst, psst. Hey.
Hmm?
It's pronounced peccaberry.
Wait, I
Aluvi
thought it was
just kind of
pronounced Pechaberry.
glums at the Aluvi just kind of glums at the notion of the word peck because it reminds him of birds.
I thought it was Pechaberry.
Nope, it's peccaberry.
Never heard it pronounced that way before. I'll need to give my dad shit about that.
I've been studying these for years, so I know.
I'll defer to you then.
Oranberry or Reenberry is close enough for people to know what we're trying to say.
He sort of face palms at the mention of Oreen berries.
Yes, I know exactly what I did.
Don't bring
Pedro.
those up. Those berries are cursed.
I know.
Leans to Apollo's ear. Apollo,
That's my name.
how much Pokemon around here are type changed?
A few of them, actually.
Is she older than the new Masters, right?
Yeah, like, she was a rescuer back in her younger days. Like, did you ever hear about the sacking of Humbletown? Or did your parents not go over that in history?
Yes. They went over the cataclysm. I don't think they went over too many specific
Well,
examples. It was mainly stories from the perspective of my grandmother that got passed down.
Well, there was a rescue guild north of Lake Harmony in a place called Humbletown. She was one of the rescuers there. The guild master, well, the first one, was there as well. In fact, Brain was actually a friend of his. My dad named me after him.
Pedro nods.
Padrock,
Yeah?
I never did get exactly any specification as to why type changing is so special. We were kind of in the middle of the forest, so I never got to make the question.
Because it's something that's just come up quite a bit in my studies that from the very foundation of Cassia, what type changing water has been with us on helping Pokemon find their destinies, unlocking hidden potentials and powers, and in the cataclysm of the new masters, all the pools started drying up.
So this is why you are confused as to my existence, correct?
Yeah, I mean, the last the most recent writing I could find on it would have been the Team New Dawn, but that was well before I was even alive. This is something I never expected to see. Especially not for someone who's come after the Masters.
Well,
that cough was out of character.
I apologize if I can't really specify where I found it. It's not something I dedicated to memory.
No, don't sweat it.
Oh, from Jericho. Excuse me. Hey, Padlock, I got a question for you.
Oh, yeah?
Seeing as you're interested in it, if you had the opportunity to change using that kind of water, would you?
You see him go kind of blank for a moment. His confidence, whatever.
What are you insinuating?
Confidence seems to soften for a moment before he perks right back up. I don't know if it would be for myself. It'd be really cool to get to study it, because I would have some really neat mystical applications, but I don't even know what other type I would possibly be.
Finances, any? You remind me of my brother.
Oh?
He had a chance to change his typing, but he chose against it, unlike the rest of his siblings.
I suppose someone had to stay the original typing.
You were insinuating something before, weren't you?
Huh? Oh, no. I just overheard the conversation and I decided to ask a question. It piqued my interest.
Olivia isn't sure how to really take that response, but instead chooses the neutral approach. Then you would know what it looks like.
To the type changing water? Yes, I do.
Could you describe it?
But in words, it really depends on where it comes from. Preserved, it has a certain tinge to it. You can't exactly see quite through it, but were you to put it next to a more murky water, or if you have water with some dirt in it, you wouldn't be able to tell it apart. But depending on where...
That would be how it happened for me. I couldn't tell the difference.
Depending on where you find it, it could be... I've seen it look almost like normal water, except a little bit more murky. Meanwhile, I've seen other water that has a tinge to it, like it's bluish or greenish in color. But either way, it really depends on where the source is from.
Does it ever glow?
Not that I've seen.
So you wouldn't be able to tell the difference. That's why nobody's found it.
But there's a strong belief that there's hardly any more in the world, especially after what Team New Dawn had learned about it.
Clearly, they didn't look hard enough.
I mean, I don't know. When someone like her says something like that, you tend to believe it.
Luffy just gives a skeptic look.
And the young Absol right there will certainly know who I mean by her.
You hear straight?
Yeah, I'm here. I was answering a question elsewhere.
Ah, no worries.
Incoming Shroomish.
But I'm not gonna worry about take too much of your time. Please, continue on your way. If you find
Wait.
yourself injured or need any more assistance, please come by.
Is he saying you know Moria?
Moria is my mother.
His face immediately shifts to utter disbelief. Not shock, but I
Dumbfounded.
do not believe you expression.
No, if you ever come by my parents, you can meet her yourself.
Right.
Anywho, shall we continue?
That is a fitting look for you.
Yeah, I think we should. See you later, Jericho.
Anywho, here's the Kecleon shop that I mentioned earlier. You got a better selection, and you're comparing prices from here versus what's up the street. Now, they sell a little cheaper than everyone else.
Kua puts his paws up on the counter as he looks over the selection.
So shops have
Excuse
undercutters
me,
as
sir.
well.
One moment. Excuse me. That will be 1,500, please. What? What are you talking about? That reviver seat. That will be 1,500. I don't know what you mean.
This is about to get bad.
Uh-oh. Oh, no. No, 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 no. No, 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 no. Wait.
Let me guess.
No, they're not gonna come after us. They're going after that guy.
Sir, I highly insist that you pay 1,500 for that reviver seat or return it. Oops. Bye.
Oh, that fool.
That poor fool.
And just
about
like
this?
that.
Kua slides down the counter to watch.
Padrock slides on the counter.
Padrock, right.
He's just like, "Ew, I gotta see this." Oh God.
Oh.
Um,
Oh,
5 strikes of 94 damage.
that's a lot of damage.
And
That's a lot of
then-
damage.
And then the Kecleon retrieves the reviver seed off the Shroomish, and then slowly just walks back to the shelf.
So,
I see they treat thievery just as they do in the wild.
I told you these guys knew their way around loss prevention.
So I see.
Now I know why Mom always stressed not to keep their hands off their stuff when they were buying things in town.
Up here, you see Anik just come to the window and just sort of sigh before stepping outside.
I got it.
Thank you, Jericho.
Oh, what was the word for it, Apollo? Was it clean up on aisle something? What was...
Clean
Oh,
up an aisle, yes. Anywho, don't steal from these guys, and you'll still have all your teeth at the end of the day.
Noted.
I don't think Shroomish have teeth, do they?
Well, that one certainly doesn't.
I don't even think I would have survived that hit.
I certainly wouldn't.
He held back.
He held back.
Anywho, this is Wally and Summer Investment LLC.
Huh.
Yeah.
Apollo, I thought we were going to check.
Huh?
Oh, never mind. We'll come back to it, I suppose.
Wait, check what?
Well, wasn't the entire point of us coming down here was to at least see along the way?
Yeah, we saw it.
Oh, do
Not the antique.
you want to take
band.
more of a look at what they had?
Well, yes, I thought that was the point.
Maybe if you want to, sure, I can come back with you.
'Cause I'm more curious of something.
Anything in particular?
What is that cloth? Like, it looks like a band.
Oh, that's a zinc band. Isn't anything too special about it. If anyone's throwing anything at you, it's supposed to help you ward those blows off a little better. Don't quote me on that.
Don't quote you, but I think Apollo is correct. Zinc bands, excuse me, zinc bands, from what I remember, are used for improving your ability to take hits from a distance.
See.
Given your propensity for having a good defense and being willing to help other people out and protect them, I imagine you'd be quite interested in one of those.
I don't know, it just seemed to call, but that price is higher than the 400 we were given.
Indeed.
We can't afford it yet, but we will be able to in time.
Assuming it is still there.
Well, if it's not, I wouldn't sweat it. Stock
Another
rotates in
opportunity
and
could
out.
always come around.
Edric briefly pokes his head into the bank, familiarizing himself with the look inside before pulling back out.
And you see a Togetic and a Linoon in the bank. They're sort of just working at the desk for the time being.
Now, if I ever get more money and I can actually set up my own account with them, let me just leave that money here, and it'll start making money all by itself.
Well, Apollo,
Yeah?
how much does it cost to make an account?
I haven't checked. Frankly, it's probably going to be a lot more than I've got on me right now.
Well, let's find out. Excuse me! Hello!
The always forget their name. Togetic.
Summer.
Just sort of, yeah, I know. The Togetic just sort of jumps a little bit at the call and looks at Pikachu. Yes?
Hi there. How are you doing?
I'm well. How are
Actually,
you doing?
right here. I'm doing good. I had a question. I wanted to know how much it costs to make an account here.
You would put 1,000 down and you can open up an account, and basically the way it will work is you'll start with a 5% interest that will increase how much you have in your account each day, and that will slowly go up as you keep the account open. As long as you have over 1,000 in the bank, the account will be safe, and there will be no fees.
I see.
Alright.
I see.
We should probably talk this over with Castor when he wakes up.
Good idea.
All
And
right.
we also should probably go on another outing, I guess, before we do that.
Although you'll have to explain to me what interest is later.
Think
Think of interest as the fee somebody pays you when you lend them money.
Why would you ever do that?
Well, if I just gave you if I was just lending out money and I didn't get anything back, I really wouldn't get anything out of lending money. But if I was charging interest, there'd be a reason to actually stand there as a business. I don't pretend to understand like everything that goes on within money lending. There's a reason why I'm a rescuer and not a pencil pusher. Because, well, Apollo looks down at his claws. Can't exactly grab pens that well with these. Anywho.
Oh, that's why he
Lancer's
does
missed.
that work for me.
So, simple answer for that is, as long as we have money here, we'll have more money here over time. And more money means we can have more. We have more resources to do more things.
Correct.
Maybe get better beds, even, or invest in some new gear for the team, or I don't know, take a vacation.
So would it not be prudent to do it as soon as possible?
It would
Well,
be.
I mean, we've only got so much money to throw around with this sort of thing, and I'd like to have Castor be a part of this conversation.
Of course.
Agreed.
So,
But
that said,
when we get that kind of money in hand, we'll look into opening an account. And yes, I agree, we should do that very soon rather than later.
all right. So, want to go take a little jaunt through the residential areas?
Yeah, what's down this way?
Well, there's a few people who live in this area, though I wouldn't be too forward about poking into houses.
This over here. Oh, is this what's this over here?
Oh, I know where this is. I can't go over there due to my current condition. But there are going to be mornings where we are called upon for training. I'm confident. I've seen rescuers get called out to this field for training by either Rain or by either Guildmaster Rain or one of his subordinates. But this is a training field, and seems like there's already a team out there working.
Is this not the same as two wild Pokemon proving over who has the stronger value?
Well,
Not exactly.
think of it as a chance to refine your battle technique in a controlled environment. And practice makes permanent, after all. And one of the things that you're supposed to do is spend a little more time refining your fighting techniques so that when you're in the middle of a battle, under pressure, you spend less time working out the stuff that you should have been working out in here and more time winning that fight.
Now that you mentioned it, I could use some help with aiming my rocks a little easier.
Now, again, that'll take time, but this would definitely be the place to try and perfect that sort of thing.
Hi, Milo.
Shall we?
So those aren't brewing barrels?
What barrels?
Those barrels.
What
about
kind of barrels?
They're not being used to brew anything?
Not right now, and I certainly wouldn't want to drink anything out of them.
Brewing
They're barf
barrels?
buckets, aren't they?
I would like to think they're water barrels for holding water.
Really? Apollo seemed to allude to the other scenario.
Probably not drinkable water.
That
Yeah,
or
you
just
do.
carrying things. We can ask the Guildmaster later.
Got some nice houses here.
Yeah.
Yeah, they certainly spared no expense in the building.
Well, this is the house of one of the old members of Team New Dawn. Well, it's the house where their parents live.
So, whose house is the library?
Couldn't really tell ya.
We haven't. We'll have to go to the library and check it out. Maybe someone there will let us know.
Oh, you
Out of character, I'm gonna refresh.
know whose
it.
you know whose connection it is? Sorry, you know whose collection it is?
Nope.
Hmm.
I'll be honest, I don't spend a lot of time in the library. It's just... I mean, I checked out a book from there once. It was just like a bit of fiction. It was a book. It was a book on how there was how a group of kids were trying to. How did the story go again? It was a book on how a group of kids were trying to find their parents again. It was interesting though.
As Apollo and Padrock pass by these plants here, they can get a whiff of a but a pretty strong, you could say, cinnamon candy type scent.
That doesn't smell half bad.
It's quite spicy, but smells sweet as well.
He leans in to sniff.
I wouldn't take too much of a deep whiff of that.
Sweet scent.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
It smells nice though.
I don't think there's a way to set that on Twitch, Milo, because I've looked into it and there doesn't seem to be an option for it.
Well, it seems everybody's either out and about or busy doing one thing or another.
Yeah.
Does seem to be a nice place to live.
Yeah.
It is.
I'm not sure whose house this is over here. But this house up here belongs to a friend of my dad's.
Padrock comes over and reads the sign.
So the sign says Donovan's, what was it? What are those things called? Donovan's Rescue Agency.
My browser keeps crashing.
There's a separate rescue agency in town?
I think it's something that's outside of the guild. Although, if I recall right, Donovan's one of those people that was a member of...
Yeah, New Dawn.
Yeah, those guys.
Yeah.
Wait, you mean to tell me that... Sorry, out of character, I need... Remember a moment? You mean to tell me that your dad is Artemis?
Yeah.
I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah,
Well-
no, he's being honest. His dad is that
Wait,
big,
you're-
fluffy guy. Has
You're-
something of a mean streak, but otherwise is relatively a gentle giant.
Padrock leans in, putting his paws on Apollo's shoulders. Are you able to do the ghost stuff?
I don't. That's more my mother's domain than anything else. I just get to be regular old me.
Wow.
I'm sure if you could do ghost
I'm
stuff, you would
sorry,
notice it on his whole blade. That is a blade on your head, yes.
Well, every asshole's got one of these. Kind of bored with it.
Must be quite awkward.
Step straight.
Out of character, my connection is being interrupted with Roll20, so I'm going to refresh.
Alright.
Or
Yeah, my browser's crashed like 2 different times in a row, and I don't know why. I think it's because it's trying to process too many different viewpoints, and I've noticed that shadows were moving, even though I'm standing perfectly still. Like it's trying to render things I've seen, but also not things what I see.
Roses are red.
few things
Children
on the map that
behave.
are-
The browser of choice is called Brave.
You're gonna write that hard.
There are a
Yeah,
few things that are
This is me
animated
trying to
on the
use Edge.
I'm using Edge myself.
Anywho, I'm not going to pester that guy if I don't have to. But, ain't all bad.
Shall we continue?
Yeah.
Didn't you mention that Donovan was a rather intense individual?
He can be a little brusque, but he can be a bit of a softie on the inside if you get to know him well enough. Well, that's what my dad says anyway. Don't let him hear you say that, though.
Pretty rough
You know,
guy
he's
from
right out. He's
stories.
probably right in there, and you're saying it aloud. I'm
Just
not sure who I should worry about.
make him in the background grumble, grumble, grumble.
uh,
For a brief moment, I thought he was in chat, but then I remembered, oh yeah, they're doing raid.
yeah,
night.
they're in the middle of stream. They can't possibly hear you. Just don't let him. Just don't let him be in the same room, because he's gonna be like, "Boy, I hear you out there." And you'd be just like, "Run!"
Yeah. All right.
Maybe someday we'll get them in stream.
Someday, not today. Let's see. Huh? I think I see something ahead, but yeah, let's go.
Those other Pokemon?
Yeah. Hey, Apollo,
What's up?
come on.
Add a character. Roll20 is chopping my connection off, so I got to restart the. Got to refresh the page.
Fair.
Okay. We'll just wait here.
Roll20's having a day today.
Yeah, no kidding. Like it's
Think
crashing.
so.
It's crashing clients, making him lag. Weird.
Out of character. Is that supposed to be Miss Moria's icon there?
Nope.
Okay, that's a different
That is
asshole.
Apollo's icon.
I
Nope.
see a Milo tick.
Oh,
That can't be Apollo. No, that can't be Apollo's. Apollo's is down here.
Who, where? Dang it.
On the middle of the square island in the lake.
Nope, that's not Maria.
Okay.
Find
Just
out
wanted
when
to
we
be
get over there.
sure.
Yes.
Considering his occult knowledge, I think he'd likely recognize her.
Yeah,
But
no,
you're free to say no. He wouldn't if that comes up.
It's not Maria.
Huh.
Silver, looking over at the group over there.
It would seem that they're watching something.
Something going out on the lake.
As you
Other
look
than-
out at the island, you can see these two just sort of sparring in the area, and this Ninetales up here is watching them. Seems to be sort of refereeing what they're doing.
Another Ninetales. How many have we seen here?
well, there's a few.
Probably the family the other one mentioned.
who, Jedico? Maybe.
Miracle, that's the guy.
Apollo, is that not another team?
Yeah. 1 second. Araya, I've sent a question to you. Whispers. Well, if I'm not mistaken, this group over here is Team Blackthorne.
Oh, wonderful. First Team Darkstorm, now Blackthorn.
Well,
So many dark names.
they're not bad people. At least, I don't think they are.
I believe it be because of these Orawa. Yes.
Well,
Adrock takes a step back.
They maybe I don't know who they are, but they're probably nice people.
This team seems quite fixated on the match that's going on here, as if they're trying to watch what they're doing and learn from it.
I'm going to leave them to it because it looks like they're actually trying to get something done today.
Actually, can I roll something to investigate that team? Just, just a general perception of what they look like.
Sure.
Like, he's trying to determine mannerisms mostly and just their overall appearance, so he can dedicate it to memory. So he said, what's that? There it is. Ooh, 2 1s.
So, the rock ref up here seems friendly enough. She's kind of just like wagging her tail while she sat down watching the two fight on the island. Padrock, roll perception.
Sure thing. There it is. Woof. That's a terrible roll.
Those 1s are just dastardly.
Yeah, so, you notice something off about the rock ref's color, but you can't quite tell what it is.
Sure, it's scooting up as he looks.
Yeah, Apollo can tell that the rock ref is definitely not the right color, and seems to even have some very tiny flowers growing near the spikes around her neck.
I mean, well, since everybody else has done it.
Now, don't know about the rest of you guys, but I like me as I am.
What brought about that comment?
Well, lots of people either look into or in some ways idolize type changing. Me, Apollo starts before bring a hind paw up to like scratch the side of his neck. This coat's really good at keeping the heat in when I want it to and the heat out when I want it out.
Adrock looks from Apollo to the group. One of them's type changed?
Oh, look at it, yeah.
The rock ruff?
Yep.
Sounds like something you're interested in.
Not really. Well,
That's... Okay, that's another recent case.
If we're going to talk to them, though, maybe we should wait till
yeah.
the fight. Wait till they're done with what they're doing.
I will say this much: the rock ruff does seem quite cheery.
And the fletchling is just sort of sitting right next to the rock ref, watching the fight. She seems quite interested. The Rua seems to be observing intently, and the Purloin is just kind of zoning out, but watching as well.
All right. Well,
I don't feel any bad intentions from them.
Well, we should probably leave them to their work. There's a few other houses I can point out to you along this avenue here. It is waterfront property.
Waterfront?
I mean, they are set up right beside a lake.
I see.
Yeah, just don't
By any
fall in.
chance-
folks.
By any chance, are any of you familiar with a move called Dream Eater or Nightmare?
Yeah,
Uh,
Why?
Is that,
Well,
is
here's
that
the thing.
something a Gengar does?
Yes, and a few other Pokemon know how to do it as well. If that ever does happen to you and you're having trouble sleeping, I have been told that the woman who lives here in this house knows a thing or two about setting your mind right after that kind of stuff has happened to you. Or maybe you're just having trouble sleeping in general. She knows a few things that'll help.
Sleep aid.
Not quite. She's what you would call a dreamweaver.
So
A dream
similar to a
what?
witch doctor in some way.
Now, I wouldn't call her a witch, but I suppose a
No,
doctor
no.
and a
You misunderstand, Apollo. I do not mean a witch. That is completely different.
What do you
A witch
mean? Then?
doctor uses more traditional medicines.
well, I wouldn't exactly call dream weaving traditional medicine. It's a bit frowned upon in the psychological community, at least that's what I've heard. But I'm not going to argue with the results. I remember hearing a story from my mother about the time that my dad was having a bit of trouble sleeping one time, and the old guildmaster Apollo set Allura up with him, and one night that guy was sleeping like an Ursa ring, not snoring like one, thankfully.
I
Goodness
do
knows
not
my
see
mo-
why it would be frowned upon if it works.
Well, a lot of medical professionals like being able to observe results and don't really trust themselves to pseudoscience. Like, it's not a very easy thing to measure, I guess is what I'm getting at.
I can understand that feeling.
On the subject of sleep, do you know if anybody sells mirrors in town?
Not that I... Well,
Would a gem be considered a mirror if its reflective surface is enough?
I suppose it would, but the only place I could think of where a mirror could be asked after in any meaningful manner would be over at Eaton's Emporium.
Or the Kecleon shop.
Maybe, but I didn't see any mirrors there.
Neither did I.
Yeah.
Why do you
I
need
think
a
they tend
mirror
to sell
specifically?
supplies.
Any peculiar reason for that?
Oh, just a little something I do to help myself sleep at night sometimes.
Stare at yourself in the mirror.
Yeah, it's a move I inherited from Dad.
Self-reflection.
No, hypnosis.
Oh,
Now, the
That
two
makes
of you-
sense.
Oh, maybe you and Allura over here should compare notes. Apollo joked.
I mean, if it works for you, I mean. Fair
Actually,
enough.
you know what? Would y'all like to meet her?
well, we're sitting here talking about it. I would imagine we should.
All right.
I
Well,
mean, it's right here, I guess.
Apollo comes over and taps a claw against the doorway.
Yes, come in. I know the sound of that claw anywhere.
Hello.
Hello, Apollo.
How are
you've
you?
got some friends, haven't you? I am well. How are you?
Well, just got back from mission. A little banged up, but I'm still on my feet. One of my friends is currently sleeping in. I'm pretty sure you've seen Castor around, but this is
Yes,
Padrock.
I've seen him.
This is Padrock. We have
Kinda
Levi over
convinced.
here, and this is Alavi right at the very end.
Oh, you
How are
gathered
you?
some more friends. How lovely.
Hello.
Hi, my name is Alavi. Or Allura.
Laura. Nice.
Got him.
Shut it. My name is Allura. Pleasure to meet you.
Well,
Nice to meet you.
anything interesting happening today?
Oh, not so much. Just, you know, the usual. Drinking tea, enjoying the sights, watching those two fighting all the time.
Oh, those two out on the little islet out there?
Yeah, they get more aggressive in their spars every day.
Maybe because they are well in tune.
Are
Well,
they just competitive, or?
I hear they're cousins, but they certainly are very competitive, yes.
I sure hope that rowdiness does not get too noisy,
Well,
since you seem to live right next to it.
well, the walls are well constructed. I can keep the door shut, and usually it keeps the sound out.
And well, you've also got that piano back there to play if you really need the extra background noise.
Yes, I do that sometimes. It's quite therapeutic.
And in case you're all wondering, Paula says she's really good at playing it.
Well,
I mean,
thank you.
if she has her own personal piano, I would imagine.
Well, my dad's introduced me a few people over in Cassiatown that they've got their own piano, but they wouldn't know what a quarter note is if you asked them about it.
Well, pianos
Anywho.
are still relatively new in Cassia. We had some left by, you know, the people who came before 200 years ago, but it took a while for some of the Pokemon to really learn how to reverse engineer them and build some of their own.
It's very pretty to listen to. Anywho, unless you have, unless there's anything else you want to talk about, I was just trying to show my friends through here.
Excuse me.
I think I'm good for now, but you can come back anytime and visit.
I'd be happy to.
Luffy raises a paw and touches one of the keys and scares himself at the noise that it makes. Nah!
He pressed it light, so it's not quite as loud as it would be if
No,
it normally played.
I know, but it still spooked him enough to where it's like,
Just sort of gets a low dung.
what?
The
Going to-
keys
going
make
into
sound,
music-
Olivia. Trust me, it's not as weird as it sounds.
Going into music there, Alfie?
Is this music? All I heard was a really low-pitched noise.
Well, you gotta start somewhere.
Right,
Paul is
right.
obviously joking. All right.
Maybe we will.
I-
Maybe we can listen to some of the music being played later on.
Yeah.
So long as it doesn't scare me like that again.
I can't imagine it'll scare you.
They'll definitely
Alright.
get your attention.
Allura
somehow.
just sort of giggles at the team's antics.
Lead the way.
See you
Oh,
later,
fearless
Laura.
leader.
Goodbye, dears.
Nice to meet you.
You too.
Take care.
So
He is a
embarrassed.
really sweet person, as you all just saw.
So embarrassed.
Don't worry about it.
If you don't know what to expect, I'm not surprised you got surprised.
Surprising.
Modern world tech, it confuses me.
Give it a few months and it'll start to make sense. For now, don't worry about it.
I know what a harp is, but I've never heard of pianos.
Oh God,
All right.
sweet Arceus. I wasn't kidding.
The Absol just sort of shakes out the hit and then retaliates.
Oh,
That's a crit.
Sweetheart, she wasn't kidding.
jumps at the sound of the hint, spinning in time to see the Min Xiao hit the floor.
And the Mean Xiao just kind of grunts and lops on the ground with a low growl. God damn it.
So I see that, that's what she meant by them being a little too competitive. That looked like it hurt.
Yeah, it also looks like you can take it.
You'll get there eventually, Lucio, the Ninetales says before sitting down and just starting to patch him up.
Okay, so
Yeah.
I think I know what's causing my browser to crash like that. It's because I'm moving too fast and too often by going a couple spaces at a time, so maybe I should take longer steps when I have like full view of the map like this.
Maybe. It is a big map. It's 100 by 100 tiles.
Yeah, that's probably why it keeps
And
crashing.
very detailed.
Well, and this is another house that belonged to a member of Team New Dawn. You ever hear the name Sapphire before?
Oh yeah.
I'm afraid not.
Oh, that's the most recent type change Pokemon, at least. Before I found about Aluvi and that Rockruff, was you called it?
Yep.
I wonder, is a Dirge in chat right now?
Let me,
No. Oh yeah, Scott's in the
I
chat, but
see
I
Scott
don't know
in
if
chat.
it's-
he
I don't know- I
just, he
don't know
just
if
said
it's
hello.
listening.
Scott's in chat right now. He might just be idling.
yeah, maybe. Anywho, this is Sapphire's house, and she lives there with Claire, a very bouncy but amiable Gudra.
A funny thought occurred.
Oh?
In normal circumstances, a Rockruff would be considered a type that is the same as mine. How ironic that the very first one that I've ever met is anything but.
I do see a bit of irony in that. Well, out of character, are we going to get Scott in here to cameo as Sapphire for a bit?
That
Or,
depends on if Scott wants to.
Yeah.
I was trying to get their
Yeah,
attention.
No pressure, Scott.
Yeah, maybe we should move on.
Is Levi just hanging back? Oh. Yeah, he's distracted.
Hey, Levi. You coming?
Hey,
or what?
huh?
Come on over.
Oh. Right.
I see you got a little too engrossed into the whole thing.
Maybe a little.
You're big on fighting?
I think so. At the same time, I'm not sure if they're about to start up again or not.
After a hit like that, I can't imagine they're going to start up anytime soon. That usually means they're done for the day.
Yeah,
The
the day is
Lucio
still
just-
young. I doubt it.
The Mian Xiao just
Considering-
pulls him up to his arms and feet, just sits down.
It looked like it was a one-hit blow.
No.
Now, sometimes you get
there
lucky.
There were prior injuries before that hit. Those two are really strong. I want to beat them.
You will. Give it time.
I think
I
your first.
I can't right now, but
I
I want
believe
to.
your first hurdle would be the Gorobus.
When
As-
I find that stupid fish, I'm going to fry it.
As Ben rounds the corner, he jumps for a moment. Oh,
What's up?
Stupid fish.
I didn't expect Mom to still be in town.
Huh?
He says, pointing at the far side of the table over there.
Oh. So she is. We don't have to go over there if we don't want to.
Well, we could if we wanted to, but I want to try something here really quick, if you all don't mind. But I'm gonna need it to be pretty silent.
What?
What are you doing?
Shh. Apollo says, taking a forepaw and tapping it to his mouth. Apollo just begins sneaking along this way.
What is he
Over
possibly
here.
doing?
Good question.
Then he edges his way over this way. And eventually, he tries to jump at Serenity and pounce on her.
Glacialis, seeing the Absol in her view, jumps and taps Serenity, and then she quickly moves out of the way.
Huh? Oh, oh, come on, Glacy, you blew my cover.
And the Ninetails quickly moves her tails to grab Apollo before he falls into the blue fire here.
Yeah.
Careful now, dear.
Apollo, you should never pounce a Ninetails. You'll touch the tails unexpectedly.
Said tails
Wow.
are currently wrapped around the Absol.
I can't imagine that's exactly something you could be concerned about right now. Besides,
Somebody you know.
yes, friend of my dad's, and someone who watches out for me from time to time.
A friend. Yes, I suppose you can say that. So how are you guys doing? Looks like you got a new member.
Yep. Glacialis, this is Padrock over here.
She looks
Padrock.
at the new Fennekin. She sort of sways her tail and smiles. Hey, how you doing?
I thought I'd be a bit more overwhelmed than I currently am, but
Is there anything special about that bonfire?
It's burning.
The flame is currently blue, very unusual blue, not like regular fire, but it's certainly hot like regular fire.
Can I roll survival or perception to see whether this is normal or not for him?
You'd probably have to roll cult.
Cold. Oh. Yeah, about that.
Yeah. You know nothing about this flame. And Levi doesn't really know anything about it.
one.
That was a good roll for one die.
Yeah, no,
Wow, that's
Let's see.
lower than I was expecting.
Padrock
Padrock?
can tell that it's definitely not a normal flame. It seems to be coming from a very mystical source.
Where did you get that fire from?
Serenity looks at the flame, then looks at Padrock, and she's like, I made that fire.
Yeah, she can do that.
What
Blue
kind
flames.
of properties does it have?
It's hard to say. I don't really quite know myself, but it's... Let's just say it has some resistance to being doused.
So it's a strong
Bedrock.
fire.
Bedrock hovers a paw over it, trying to get sort of a sense of it from a safe distance. Safe for a fire type, at least.
The music is cranking out.
Well, gotta restart that then. All right.
That's better.
So, Padrock, roll Pokemon education.
Oh,
Oh.
what Pokemon education?
Well,
So-
I got a 4.
You don't really understand this flame, where it came from, but it's definitely got a very unusual feeling to it.
So, a Ninetales with blue flames. Would that be a type change?
Not
Oh.
exactly.
Oh no, dear, I'm not type changed. But let's just say I work for someone who blessed that flame upon me.
I see. Peculiar, but I honestly do not understand anything about this.
I mean, all I need to know is the fire is blue, and it came from this Ninetales. Beyond that, I have no idea what's going on with that thing.
I will just call it Fancy Fire.
Fancy Fire. Now there's a name. Paul says,
Trying
looking
to
up
sort of
already.
giggles and shakes her head. No, that's silly. I wouldn't name my fire something so ostentatious.
And what would you call it?
Well, I call it Soul Flare.
Fire from the soul?
Not quite. It's something that my family named it hundreds of years ago. Well before I was born.
So you're not the first.
Oh, no. My family's been around for at least 1,000 years.
I mean, the blue flame.
I
Not the
haven't
first.
seen any other Ninetales outside of my family who've done this.
So it's a genetic thing.
Indeed.
Interesting.
Team Fancy Fire.
So, Padrock,
1 second.
okay.
That rock is momentarily distracting, looking ahead.
Don't be
Seeming to be muttering something under his breath before it spins. Oh, yeah?
I wanted to explain something here, which is unfortunately closed.
Hmm?
This is, as described by Team New Dawn, one of the weirdest places in town.
Oh, is this where you
yeah.
get your vision juice?
Vision juice?
You're what now?
Oh, it's a product made by my village. It's a mild hallucinogenic used by psychic types to help kind of loosen up their abilities.
Are you sure your family is
Usually-
not full of witch doctors?
Well, no, this is
Usually
called
used by learners more than the experienced.
That
it's called a coffee shop.
Oh,
that sounds. I'll be honest. That sounds kind of crazy, or at least crazy in a cool way. But no, this is what Apollo said. It's a coffee shop, but it's ran by this really eccentric Sandile.
The
Oh,
Landit.
son.
And
Slanded.
so
say
that so the
guy
myth is
is,
true.
that guy's a couple cards short of a full deck. Leave it at that.
You're saying he has a screw loose?
Guy's got several screws loose.
You hear
You know
sort of
what
a rumbling on the shutter.
Padrock leads back. Oh, I've heard stories about this. I just thought it was exaggeration to make New Dawn's story sound more exciting.
Trust me, they had enough excitement.
I see I'm not the only one who got spooked today.
So, after a moment, you see the shutter suddenly raise, and behind it is a Salandit. Jumps up onto the shelf, and it's like, welcome, welcome. Hey, how are you guys doing?
The whole wall.
Uncomfortable, Apollo would say.
Fine. How are you?
I am quite well. Hey, looks like you got a new member. What's your name, Padrock?
Padrock, ex-Brazier of Cassia.
Quite good to see you.
Blurts out as if natural response from him when he's introducing himself.
See you.
Alubi
Well,
kind of furrows a brow at that.
well, you're not the only one. Ask that Glaceon over there. Glaceon just sort of glares at the Salandit and just keeps watching the flame.
Padrock. Padrock.
He turns to Levi.
You didn't notice he already... You didn't notice he already... Never mind.
Already what?
He already knew your name.
He turns to the slowly to the Salandit. Oh.
He just sort of runs along the table and looks at the Pikachu. Well, you got beaten up, didn't you?
Look, I can explain, alright?
What, did you fight a fish that blasted you with water? Huh.
How did he know that?
He just does a spin on the table and he's like, well, would you like some coffee today? It'll be 200 per.
Tempting offer, but I'm gonna have to pass. I'm looking to get to bed at a reasonable hour tonight, and well, I don't have anything truly demanding going on today, so. But thank you for the offer.
How about you, Padrock? Would you like some coffee?
I don't think I can afford that right now.
Ah,
He says, a little shaken.
How about you, Alibi? Would you like some coffee?
I'm afraid I must pass.
And you?
This may be irresponsible of me, but sure, I'll take a cup.
He just, Alright, that'll be 200.
Hey, Levi? Didn't Elizabeth tell you you needed to take it easy today?
Technically, drinking coffee is taking it easy if you don't drink too much of it.
No. This is probably better off experienced.
Actually, then again, I just realized something.
Hmm.
I probably shouldn't take coffee because I have medicine in my system and it's actually gonna probably mess with the medicine, and then that's gonna... Ew.
Oh, coffee does nothing to ibuprofen. But if you insist, fine.
Yeah. I'm gonna go ahead and say no on this one. I'm sorry.
How about you up the... No, you know I don't drink coffee. Oh, you're such a joy kill. Fine. Serenity, would you like one? No, I'm good. He just sort of huffs and jumps back into the middle of the table. Come on, where's the layer? And then suddenly the shutters close. If I can get that done. Line, not draw shape.
That was eventful.
That was what I would expect from the stories I've heard.
Like I said, weirdest place in town.
Glacialis, I believe you two have history, I take it.
He knows what coffee does to me, and he knows I can't drink it. He keeps asking. I just kind of ignore it now.
Allergy?
Some mouse, but I won't get into that.
Yeah. Do you ever go for something like simpler, like tea, sort of like what Elizabeth and Anak use over at the hospital?
I occasionally drink green tea with some like she berries.
I looked around that shop. I don't think he has anything for tea.
Oh, he doesn't exactly sell it, but you know, he offers it sometimes. He and I get along pretty well. And that Zlurk up there also works with him.
Alright. Well.
Sploosh.
Yeah.
Happy.
Hey! How you guys doing?
Hello.
It's the fish! It's come back to haunt us! Ah!
Fish? What?
It's not the fish.
Wait.
It's
Come back!
Elvie. Come back.
Oh no, I scared him off, didn't I?
Yeah, this team had a bad encounter with the fish the other day.
Alavie is not even the same color.
It's not.
Look again.
Oh.
The Vaporeon just
No.
sort of sits down, her ears splayed, and tail just kind of laid out beside her, all pouting.
I'm so sorry about that. I don't usually get that jumpy.
Fine. So, Glacy, you gonna introduce us? And Glacialis just looks back at the team, then looks back at the Vaporeon. Yeah. So, guys, this is my sister, Lysida. Lysida,
Hello.
this is Alavie, Levi, Padrock, Apollo, and where's Caster?
Gaster is currently sleeping in.
Oh, of course he is. Well,
Out of character, Apollo's just seated himself inside Serenity's tail, so just his head is poking out.
Serenity is just sort of smiling and sitting there watching the flame while the others talk. Well, it's great to meet you. I'm Lysida.
Nice to meet you too.
Any friend of Glacialis is a friend of mine.
Oh, no, I'm her sister.
Well, I can't imagine you're just sisters. I mean, the two of you look like you like each other.
You hush. You know what?
And, Apollo is hit by this attack, and he sort of like dazes out for a bit.
Oh dear.
Apollo's. I'm sorry. Padrock's jaw drops at that.
Wow.
What are you doing?
And Serenity just shakes her head and glows before tapping Apollo on the head, and she's like, snap out of it. And
Yeah. Hey, what was that?
It's harmless. That's what it is.
that was my attract, and if you ever say something like that again, I'm gonna make sure it stays.
Apollo sort of like sinks half of his head back into Serenity's tails.
You're lucky I'm not into guys.
I feel like I should be the one deserving of that.
Glacio is
Sit.
just has a giggle fit.
Considering
Padrock sits
my,
behind Levi.
I need to apologize for my rudeness.
Well, could be worse. At least you're not an Altaria.
A Walt?
Oh, nothing. Just someone I used to know. Long ago.
Alavie, you know what cotton candy looks like?
I'm afraid not.
If we ever go to Cassia Town, I'll show you what it looks like. Periodically there's a vendor around there that sells that kind of stuff. Basically, Altaria looks like cotton candy if it loosely formed itself to be a bird that had a set of wings. Oh, and a really long neck, too.
I believe I've seen one of the... Is it like the clouds above?
Yes.
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about now. Cotton candy is... what?
It basically looks like... It looks like a cloud, and you can, like, bite little pieces of it off, and it tastes, like, really, really sweet. And again, there's, like, there's a vendor that appears every now and then in Cassia Town. If you ever go to Lilac Town as well, you can find someone... You can probably buy some at the candy shop that they got there.
Well, we should probably continue the tour. I'll see you later, Apollo, since you're clearly tied up. Come on, Olivia. Patrick, let's go.
I should probably catch up with those guys. Apollo says, looking up at Serenity.
He sort of gives him a nice one, unwraps your tails from him, and is like, well, take care.
I will.
Have to find out what this
Good to see you
thing
again.
Here.
You too. And be careful when you try and pounce me again. Glace is quite protective.
All right, I'll be careful the next time I try it.
What'd you say, Padrock?
Just have to find out what's this up here sometime.
Is that not your mother?
Oh,
It is.
Are you talking about the area?
Yeah, this area up here. And as he approaches, his ears are perked up, trying to hear what the conversation's about.
The Lorark here is just kind of drinking his tea, occasionally having a word about some things going on at the medicine shop, and something about a dumb Shroomish who really shouldn't have stolen from Kekleon.
Mm-hmm.
And the breaks in here just kind of giggles and takes another drink from his tea.
Padrock has one ear towards his mother and one ear towards Levi as he asks, "So what's this place up here?"
This right here.
This is a.
Oh, go ahead. My bad.
This is the tavern. As Apollo mentioned earlier, this is ran by Castor's grandmother.
Apollo just gives a nod to Levi.
She along with selling drinks and various foods, she also sells these CDs, things called technical machines, or TMs, or TRs, or I don't know what the hell they're called nowadays. They're just these round discs that if you use them, it can teach you something new.
That seems...
They're called TMs, by the way. Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, see, there. I had it right the second time.
And the Jolteon has...
You said TRs the second time.
First time.
The Jolteon walks over. You can hear the clinking of a plastic-looking foreleg.
Out of character, the one that I had given Emmy earlier, during From the Ashes, was actually a specially designed metallic arm that Eaton made for her.
Okay.
And for those of you who were watching that campaign back in its day, I remember making a rather hilarious joke about Emmy being happy that she finally looks like that really cool Fox character from that awesome webcomic.
Oh my god.
Padrock watches the arm as
sponsored.
Absolutely shameless.
Arm cannon.
Padrock watches the leg as Emmy passes by.
And Emmy just looks at Padrock and is like, "Oh, you're new. What's your name?"
I'm Padrock, or it's just Padrock.
Well,
this time, stopping himself.
Well, my name's Emmy. I am Castor's grandmother. You might have met him. Speaking of, Apollo.
Yep.
Sleeping.
Oh, I see. Well, not
Again.
surprising. But yes, I am Castor's grandmother, close friend of Apollo's and his parents.
Yeah.
So, Apollo, what are you doing today?
Taking the team, showing them around town, making sure Paddock is settled in just fine, and making sure Alavi also gets a bit of time out as well. Kind of, we got roughed up in the last mission, so we're trying to take it easy.
She sort of nods and then wanders over to the table here and grabs a cup, goes with some peckerberry juice, and then sets it on the table in front of him. Here, on the house.
Thank you again, Emmy. Apollo says before dexterously putting his center claw through the little handle on it, and then tipping the cup up to his mouth. I'm so glad you showed me that trick.
Well, your dad knew it.
All of these moves, they seem... I'm not sure. Is this normal for pricing?
Well, given the fact that with these TMs, once you use it, it'll give you access to a brand new power. This is normal for the pricing. If not, it's quite low for pricing. I've seen them much higher.
I see.
Those aren't the strongest moves, I can assure you that.
I would beg to differ. Protect what might be very helpful.
It could be. Over the years, these have become fairly easy to produce, so they've gone down a little bit in price.
Well, I remember hearing some sort of story from the days of the Wayfinders, where one of their members, I can't remember who it was, Eddie or Danica that this happened to, but they were trying to learn surf, and something went very wrong, and they ended up learning like 3 different iterations of the move. But they were really good with that move afterwards.
Might I remind you of Pokemon Rusty and how Zubat's cat learned surf?
She sort of smiles and shakes her head, telling that old story again.
Aye.
Out of character, is
I zoned out
Padrock's
for a
mother...
bit.
Out of character, what?
Out of character, is Padrock's mother talking with the discussant, or is she just enjoying tea by herself?
She's sitting over there with tea.
Okay.
Sippy, but she has her ears twitch towards the team, just sort of leaving them be for the time being.
You know,
Padrock has a...
Emmy just sort of...
If one is listening closely to him, they might hear his small sigh of relief, just barely managing to keep any visual notice of his composure changing.
Emmy just sort of smiles at Apollo and shakes her head. Telling that old story, are you again?
Hey, it's a funny story.
No, it is. There has to be some strain of truth in it.
Well,
But I'm sure your dad would know better than I would.
yeah, you can probably actually recall something from that particular time. Anywho, this is the tavern area. Emmy's cool. Just ask Castor if you don't believe me.
I have a
Don't
question.
yawn.
Nice.
I hope I have an answer.
What is nature power exactly? I don't think I've ever seen this one used.
Can't really say I understand that move too well myself. I've always stayed away from those like really wonky moves like nature power, hidden power. But yeah.
If I remember right, nature power is. I think it depends on where. It does something different depending on where you are? Or was it based on whatever berry you have? Or whatever you have on. I think it really depends on where you are.
Your nature power is defined by the environment you're in. It changes depending on, well, as you tried to say, where you are. If you're near water, it can be surf. It can, you know, put Pokemon to sleep if you're in the forest. It just has all kinds of effects.
Add a character. For building plane and link battles, nature power is swift. On sand, it's earthquake. In a cave, it's shadow ball. In a rocky terrain, it's rock slide. In tall grass, it's stun spore. Long grass, it's razor leaf. Pond water, it's bubble beam. Seawater, surf. Underwater, hydro pump.
Yep.
Yeah, that's not going to get confusing anytime soon.
More likely not to be deep underwater anytime soon.
Well, here's hoping not. Although, I'm actually quite interested in that, in one of those moves. I'm not sure I can learn it, though. But more on this later. I'm sure you have plenty of selection in the back that we can look at when the time comes. He just takes a small sip of the tea before setting it down.
Emmy, will these be still here after the day is over?
Our selection sort of changes daily. It just depends on who buys what, and, well, I've always got more in the back.
Fair enough.
So, Apollo and Levi both notice this Nickit sort of come up behind Levi and just start sniffing at his bag.
Can I help you?
Just kind of jumps back and is like, oh, hey.
Hello.
What's your name?
Levi.
Oh,
What is yours?
my name is Renia.
How can I help you?
Oh, nothing. You just seemed curious, so I just actually check you out.
I see.
And she just sort of goes back to the table and continues drinking her drink.
That was awkward.
Let's move
Here.
on, shall we?
Sounds good.
There's two stops, though. Really, one more person I want to show you. I want to introduce you to, Patrick.
All right.
The resident town engineer / tactician / general purpose handyman.
We just call him. I'm pretty sure engineer works fine enough.
In case you're wondering, he's the guy who is responsible for getting all of our airships ready that were used for getting you out of trouble and back here. Apollo just knocks on the entryway here, looking over at what looks like an electric type Delphox. Hey, Eaton!
The Delphox, which is sort of working on some tools, and quickly jumps his head up and is like, oh, hey.
Want to introduce you to the newest member of the team. Patrick, this is Eaton. Eaton, this is Patrick.
pleasure. I was told I might be able to buy a mirror from you.
Oh, a mirror? I think I've got one of those. What do you need it for?
Just
He needs to
Special
make sure he
reasons.
looks decent in the morning when he wakes up.
exactly.
He's a bit subconscious about it.
I thought it was for him to help sleep.
Good. Padrock will cover Aluvi's mouth before.
What?
Dean just sort of snorts and looks between the Fennekin and the others. Fine, keep your secrets. But yes, I think I might have one somewhere. Give me a moment.
And as he's turning to Sally,
What was that
I-
about?
I'd not
We're
be
trying to
best
not.
to make that public information.
Yeah, we're trying to keep that on the down low.
The move doesn't have the best public reputation.
I see. Sorry.
Not your
Eaton,
fault. You didn't exactly know.
Eaton just comes back and has a small round mirror in his paws, and he's like, "This something you're looking for?"
Yes, please.
Well, I can give you this for about 50. How's that?
He immediately hands over the money.
Here you go.
Okay, so it seems that the crash for the client is because it keeps exceeding its memory.
Gotta love Stack Overflows.
That's Edge. It must be like a memory leak somewhere. Whatever. Deal with that later.
Who knows? So, how can I help you guys?
Well, we were just coming by to see what it is you do around here, and just getting you acquainted with Patrick. He's our newest member of the team, so figured you two should at least see each other at least once before the day is out.
Well, it's good to meet you. Another Fennekin, huh?
Yeah, these airships are your work?
Oh yes, I made those a long time ago. See that big one up there?
Yeah.
That belonged to the team that once defeated Eternatus.
You don't.
Has a lot of weaponry on it.
Well,
Yeah.
it kind of needed a lot. Back in the
Seen
day
heavy
when
battle.
the Zealots and the New Masters were around, we kind of had to prepare for dealing with them.
I take it that it's no longer necessary considering these other ones are unarmed.
Well, if ever need be, I can arm them, but for now, it's pretty safe.
That's a relief. Flying around is scary enough. I don't think we need to be fighting in the air.
I
If we
still
can help it.
wonder, how do you manage to keep your ear fluff like that?
It's called static.
So it just sits that way naturally.
Yes. I am an electric.
Y'all
type
seem
after all.
y'all seem so surprised by that. It's actually not uncommon.
Well,
Very
no,
normal.
well, no, it's... yes, I kind of figured it was electric type. I just wondered how he kept it that way. I thought it was, you know...
Shocking.
See, actually, I'm gonna do something real fast. Let me just roll.
Oh boy.
Still love that image.
Him in his little lab coat.
Yeah.
I
Well, it's his
would've.
natural fur.
It's his natural
Or
fur that's shaped like a lab coat, yeah.
Exactly.
Uh,
Like how Delphox's natural. Yeah, normal about Delphox's fur is naturally a robe.
Honestly, that's what makes it unique.
What are you rolling for, Levi?
Levi was looking at that and looked at Allevi and Padrock and thought about it for a moment. It's like, I can just show y'all how it feels. It's easy enough. Just lifts his paws and just has some sparkle on it.
Luby just sideways glances at him like, really?
No.
Yes, really.
I'd rather not, because I've got
Hard
lots
pass.
of fur, and it's gonna be very tough to move around like that.
Oh, come on, Apollo. It'll be funny.
It's also gonna be a huge pain in the butt.
I'll help you fix it later.
I'd rather not have to fix it at all. It takes a while to get my fur set this way, and I really don't want to have to fight with it for the next few days trying to get it to sit down.
One can only imagine
Fine.
one can only imagine how much Etan feels.
I'm sure they don't worry about it.
See,
Besides, putting the static in is one task. Getting the static out, well, that's easy.
if I were a ground type, I would probably enthuse the idea. However, I am
Yes.
not.
Yeah, it's only for the fact that you can just kind of ignore it. Trust me, it'd be harmless either way. But no, I understand. You don't want to be adventurous. That's fine.
There's the difference between adventurous and stupid.
It's not stupid if it's harmless.
Harmless to you.
And anyone else. I know how to avoid hurting people with this.
Give me a quick moment. So, Eaton just sort of looks at Levi and then slowly reaches over and taps him on the cheek.
Spark.
He makes a sound and looks over to Eden before just giggling a moment.
Seems you ended up getting exactly your just desserts.
He just sort of smirks and shakes his head.
Alavi says that, but Levi's just laughing. See? Harmless. Although that could have been harmful for you.
Oh,
Definitely pass.
I do have one question. The bags, the small bag there. How much does that hold?
The bags? Oh, you mean the inventory expansions?
They're expansions.
Yes, so you place one of those in your bag, and it basically allows you to put more items in here. It's hard to explain the science behind them, but the small inventory expansion allows you to carry one more item, the regular size allows you to carry 3 more, and the large allows you to carry 5 more.
So you cannot just stuff a small one repeatedly just to get the same effect?
You can, but I really don't suggest it.
Well, I feel like I'm gonna be needing room for medical equipment at some point. I'd like one of the bags. Just a small one.
Honestly, I don't suggest you buy one of those, because they're sort of a prank on the, well, the people who try to cheap their way out.
Let me guess. You put that one item in there and it gives you one expansion to your inventory.
Exactly.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Is that not helpful?
Not. It basically puts you right back where you started before, and now you're 100 poke out.
You use
So,
one slot
yeah.
to get one slot.
Oh. I see. Well, that makes no sense. What?
It's not supposed to, trust me. I have these only for people who decide to cheat their way out and get things off easy.
That explains the price difference.
What can you tell me about the regular inventory versus the large inventory expansions? As long as I'm here.
The regular ones give you 3 extra slots. The large ones give you 5.
Okay, so there's no real price difference. Well, I suppose.
It takes
Suppose
one.
large...
It takes 1 less slot to have one instead of having 2.
All right.
And given the size of your bag, I figure you can hold about 20 items in there.
All right. I'll make sure to keep that in mind.
As a note, by a loaded shotgun, this is kind of a gag that happened a few campaigns ago. I think Straight can explain that a little better.
I don't think I actually did that. Yeah, no, I didn't.
So what are these for? Pointing to the computer spikes.
Well,
Those
go ahead.
Those are for hacking into computers. It takes sort of a pretty well tech-savvy person to do it, but they allow you to... They sort of use processing power to decode the passwords that are on the computers. The more
Halfway
you...
through that conversation, you just see Louis' eyes glaze over.
How likely were you even to
think-
encounter a computer?
I
Well,
think you lost him.
What was that, Patrick?
How likely are you even to encounter a computer? I doubt we'll find one in the middle of a cave somewhere.
They're pretty common in towns and cities and other buildings. There's a lot of people who use them for either personal means or for, well, business.
Ever since things went to normal after the events of the new masters, computers have become more common. Even I've used one every now and then.
Well, since you're a little knowledgeable, Levi. So these computer spikes use a certain amount of processing power to decode a part of a password. The more you
Don't want to hear any more of this.
the more you use, the more processing power it uses, the faster it allows you to decode it before, well, the computer decides to lock you out. But when you use them, they do fry the chips, so you have to throw them away.
Right. I'm gonna hold off on getting one of those for now. I don't need them yet. That and I only have so much money to use. But thank you.
Of course.
And thank you for helping Patrick.
Yeah.
I feel like if I stay here any longer, I'm gonna lose my sanity.
Like I said, give it a few months, and this will all seem a lot more natural to you. So, one last place I want to show you guys to, since we're already close enough.
Eaton
Over this way, Patrick.
just waves the team and sort of chuckles before going back to work.
Bedrock will wave
See you
back
later,
and admiring the airships as they walk.
It seems each one of them have different chair colors.
Indeed, as though for different teams. Hey, Apollo.
What's
I'd
up?
hate to be the one that has the green seats.
What's wrong with green seats?
Well, when one decides to up Chuck, you would never know.
I did not need that mental image.
I like green, though.
Where are we going?
A pretty nice relaxation point. If you're trying to get away from the sun and you just want someplace where you can look out on the river, this is a spot to do it. this tree right here is supposed to be the spot that marks the place where the original guildmaster was buried.
Oh.
He had a tree grow over his grave.
Mm-hmm. Planted around the same. He had it planted here around the same time. He and Allura tied the knot together.
Huh.
On the tree, you see several very good-looking cherry berries growing.
One could say
Bedrock touches the tree.
one could say that he persists beyond death with the gift of giving.
Yeah. He touched a lot of lives doing what he did.
How did he
So-
perish exactly?
In his sleep.
To what?
Now, hang on a second. I'm going to make an education roll here. Just so I can stay in character.
Mm-hmm.
Where is general education here? Well,
dice.
okay. So, there are certain diseases that affect very specific types of Pokemon. When Apollo was more or less in his prime, he came down with a very specific disease that affects Steel-type Pokemon called Metallus enteritis is the name of the disease. Essentially, when Steel-type Pokemon are growing up, they're all exposed to this very prevalent, very easy to spread virus, but it doesn't affect most of them. But the ones that it does affect, it gives them a very, very tough to beat sickness. And I'd say of the ones who show symptoms, 85% of them die. And of the 15% that survive, only a fraction of those people ever make a full recovery. And Apollo managed to survive the case that he caught, but he was basically screwed up for a lot of his life after that.
This
Right around. Go ahead.
This disease, would it happen to erode the inside?
Is precisely what it did. At least when it's active. So when he did finally beat it, though, his immune system was basically stuck going haywire and thinking that it was still sick. That was the case until right around the time that Apollo actually met up with the Pokemon that made Team Newdon happen. He ran into Anik, who had been searching for a way to fix that complication. And whatever Anik did, he absolutely succeeded. And Apollo actually got his strength back.
Albeit temporarily, it seems.
Well, he got it back long enough, because after that whole thing went down, he lived for about 14 years afterwards. And then when he finally passed on.
Go ahead and continue.
So, when Apollo passed on, I think it was about like a year before I was born. At least that's how Mom tells it to me. So, he got in a pretty good stretch as Guildmaster after the whole events of Team Newdon. So he lived a pretty good life. At least that's how it's told to me.
You know, I gotta do a roll now. Oof. Those ones keep haunting me, man.
Oh, you got a 6 sprinkled
And
in
a
there.
6.
Well, I may have come across someone who had that very same disease. I never did have an identification for it. It's the reason why I understood that it erodes the inside.
Now, were they a steel type?
Yes.
Yeah, you
It's
might want to
just-
get in. You might want to get in touch with Anak about that. Like, he actually knows a pretty good deal about that kind of stuff.
It's just, traditional medicine didn't have the capabilities to really help that individual.
Well, is he still alive?
I'm not sure.
Well, if he is, definitely point him toward Anak, because if traditional medicine doesn't work, Anak does anyway. I mean, that's basically how he managed to get Apollo back on his feet. With that, Apollo, like, casts his glance back at the tree, and he just looks at peace as he's looking over the tree. And I suppose the other reason why I like coming out here is I just feel myself when I'm here.
More at ease?
Yeah.
Feel close to your namesake?
Well, I was named after the old guild master.
Well, while you're done showing things, Apollo, there's still some things I want to show myself.
Oh?
Oh?
What would that be?
This way. Oh, before we go. I know we saw from the front, but the house right here is the back of the guild house. Well, the back of the old guild master's house. Though I would not go in, well, not without Apollo's permission anyway. But it is a nice place. I'm just
Which
confident.
Apollo are we talking about?
Me.
That one, given his dad inherited the place. I don't think we're supposed to be going in there, though. Not yet,
Yeah.
anyway.
Wait.
This way.
So, Artemis and Moria actually live in this town?
Well, no, they own the house, but Mom likes to stay in Cassia Town because, well, back in the days of Team Wayfinder, she lived in the bell tower that was there.
Yeah,
Bell
I
Tower?
guess that's part of why it seems so odd that you were here in this place.
Now, Dad wanted me close to people that he knew back from his day. So,
They lived in a bell tower and I lived in a cave. I guess we're not so different after all.
Now, this here. As far as I know, it's still under work, but it made me curious.
Should we just be barging into a place like this?
It seems empty.
It's not a house.
I mean, probably belongs to Deacon? It's right
It
next
will.
to his shop.
It does, but it's soon to be a public service building. This is something in the works, if that makes sense.
Huh.
But from what I've heard, and this is just rumor, it seems a bit far-fetched to me even, but from what I've heard, this is supposed to be able to send us long distances in a short amount of time. Like teleporting.
Oh, what I wouldn't give to have an Abra's ability to teleport.
so
Exactly, but this would be pointed somewhere.
Anywhere in particular you wanted to point something like this?
The word is it would be, when it's done being worked on, it'll be configured to send you to different towns, to different places across the region in a fast amount of time. I don't know everything about it though. Maybe we can ask Eden about it later, but for now, I'm curious.
Wait, you're not gonna try to use it, are you?
Wait, now? No. Later, sure, but not right now.
Good, because that would have been very dangerous.
And you sort of see a bunch of different wires attached to the panel here that are going up to the desk and are just sort of laying over the desk. There's some equipment here. What looks like the parts of a computer, but they're sort of scattered.
Hmm.
All right. Did you want to show anything else, Levi?
Yeah. Just, noticing things here. Maybe I can talk to Eden about it later. Anyway, there's one more place I wanted to go.
That big building over there?
Yeah, actually. You mentioned it earlier, Padrock.
Whose house is that? It's huge.
Give
I'm
me just a
pretty
moment.
sure. Huh?
Because the game is not supposed to have vision in there.
Ah,
Darn, there goes
Yeah.
the surprise then,
So-
because we've gotten several light sources into that.
I cannot see anything in here.
oh, you can't see in there?
The game's not supposed to have vision in there. And for
I
some
mean, I can
reason,
see
it
in
still
there,
does.
but
Well,
okay.
you can
I
see
think
in
that's
it
because you have a
in there.
character token in there.
That might be what's causing that.
nah.
Because I
Let's just
have
get
vision
closer.
for the large character that's in there.
Yeah. Yeah, so the game had access to the two characters that were in there. That's why I could see in there.
Ah, I see.
There we go.
Though, it would seem we're not the only ones here. But this is not a house, but a public building, specifically the library.
Why? Why would someone house their collection in the public building?
For others
Because
to read.
it's a public library.
Libraries are a collection loaned to them. What?
What do you mean?
Well, everybody
mean-
has to read, right?
The only library I've ever known is Old Man Wiltley's collection.
Well, this is a collection amassed by various people, if not by the guild itself. And they decided to make a public location for all the books that they've gained over time. At least that's how Guild Master Rain described it.
Huh.
But this is a public place. You come in, you find something you want to read, you check it out. Well, by check out, I mean you go and make sure to let the librarians know that you're going to be borrowing the book for some time. They can take note of it, and you can take the book home. Although I will warn you that taking the book home and forgetting to return it could lead to something similar happening to what we saw earlier with the Kecleons.
So, basically the same as borrowing from Old Man Wiltley. Got it.
Although less forceful if when they come by to remind you need to return the book, you just return the book without any issues. If you don't return the book, it can be a problem.
As he steps in, he looks around at the rows and rows of books. His eyes falling on the librarian on the counter.
Up to you if you want to play him or not.
Yeah, but
Hold up.
someone interacts with him.
It's
Oh.
improving.
Oh, there. How are you doing today? I don't think I know this team. No, I do know this team. At least I know you, Apollo.
How are you two doing? Paul says, putting his forepaws up on the counter right here.
Well enough.
Yeah. Things have been slow. Not a lot to write about.
No,
As a
That's
note,
what I
too,
wanted.
if you are playing multiple characters, be sure to ping the one that you're talking as.
Yes, that it is.
got someone I'd like to introduce the two of you to. Patrick, come on forward.
If I can shuffle forward.
Gua, Reuven, this is the newest member of my team, Padrack. Padrack, meet another two members of Team New Dawn. That's Reuven over there, the Ninetales, and this is Kua, our resident librarian. And, what's the word?
Chronologist?
Chronologist, yes. Thank you.
Hey, you can just use historian. It's fine.
A chronologist makes you sound so much cooler, though.
Aw, I appreciate it.
Apollo, it does ring to my mind that I just realized we've been talking so much about teams and their names that I've realized you haven't come up with the name for it yet, have you?
I haven't. We're still kind of new. As we get closer to Rain considering us for bronze status, that's a discussion I'd like to have with all of you plus Caster. So we actually can't let him sleep in this morning like he wanted to.
Well, there's no need to rush giving yourself a name, you know.
Yeah, that's my thought. That's my thought on it, anyways.
The
Just a thought
Zoro,
Cool.
that occurred. It's just a thought that occurred.
the Zoro
Oh.
comes around to the table and he's like, "Hey, can you guys keep your voices down a little bit?"
Oh,
You got it,
Sorry.
Chief.
Kua leans over the counter towards Paul. So, how'd you end up getting another added to your team? And he's making sure to talk quietly, but I'm
Not multiple.
just saying it loudly so that people can.
I thought
Actually,
I was
you're-
already speaking lowly.
you were.
Well, we were out on a mission the other day, and we took a few hard knocks, but some team calling themselves Darkstorm was giving Patrick here a hard time. So we sent them packing and brought Patrick back with us, and the idea just came that maybe Patrick needed a bit of change of pace, so I offered to let him become the 5th member of our team.
Hold on. He was having trouble from another rescue team?
I didn't see any insignia, so I'm pretty sure they just called themselves Team Darkstorm. So maybe they're not the rescue team. I still have to talk to Rain about this.
I still feel that name is ridiculous.
Kua looks over. So, why were they harassing him?
Well, Patrick, do you feel comfortable telling this part of the story?
Yeah, they got slipped that I'd been foretold as Cassia's next great seer, and they figured they'd take advantage of that, try to glean some information.
Speaking of, why do you address yourself as that and then not do so to another person entirely? I noticed that.
I literally got dragged out of town without even a chance to get any items the other day. You understand why I'd be nervous keeping that on the down low, right?
Yes, but before you were entirely confident about it.
How many times? Question.
I'm just gonna roll something
I
here.
got a question for you, Padrock.
He looks to Alavi, putting a paw on his shoulder. Sorry, out of character. Could you repeat the question?
He said that basically before you were entirely confident about it, but then, you know, the next time you go and talk to somebody, you completely leave it out.
Yeah. You know, I just been so natural being able to be so open about it. And I only realized after it again that I probably should keep it on the down low, you know? Don't want any other possible dark storms out there to be dragging me out again.
In order to keep yourself safe, you chose to join a rescue team. Well,
Is this similar to the mirror thing? As you can tell, he's completely oblivious to even saying it.
Well, that's a different beast
mean?
to tame entirely.
indeed. Excuse me.
Kua looks over. Next rate's here. You mean like Charles? Padrock nods. Yeah, At least that's the comparison I've been given.
Well,
This Charles.
The friends here from the Wayfinder days.
Oh. I see. Well, that's quite a seat to take up, now isn't it? Wish you luck.
So,
And I'm just gonna roll something again, just so I know how to. He grins. Oh, I'm sure I'll do fine. Just gotta keep myself from becoming a punching bag again. Probably should get a focus as well. Even Charles had his crystal ball.
first a mirror and not a crystal ball. Huh.
Me. I'm sure you'll do fine. Although that said, rest assure you, if you need any help with, well, coming up as an up and starting team, I know that Rain asked me, Kua, and Sapphire every now and then to head over to the guild and help people out train and get that much better at their craft. We're still rescuers ourselves, we just picked up other professions here and there. Especially given we recently completed a collection of really old books that proved to be a lot harder to work with than we expected.
what were the books about?
I won't say too much because this is something I'd rather you read. But let's just say we found a really old relic. And that relic held a lot of technology and a lot of history based on one of the first rescue teams to ever exist.
Is that a fact? Apollo
Yeah.
looked genuinely interested. Now that's something I gotta see.
I could probably find the book for you. But I warn you, it is really confusing. There are some things that are mentioned in that book that I would not have understood at all had it not been for some other people in town like Glacialis or Anak's recent assistant insane. The story's absolutely insane. But it's a first-hand account. That's the really weird thing.
Interesting. Well, let's get a
Yeah.
look sometime then.
Like judging alone from the age of the pages alone, it's like three, maybe even 4,000 years ago. But I'm sure you'll have a chance to look into it.
All right.
Give me a moment. I'll see if I can find the book for you if you want it now, or you want to hold off.
I definitely want to hold off for now. This definitely feels like the sort of thing I want to get into if I had like a few days to myself, where I could just bury myself in it.
Makes sense. That said, I'm sorry. Starts with an A. I'm sorry, I'm terrible with names. Hold on. Is there something wrong?
What is that on your head?
Oh, these are goggles.
What do they do exactly?
So the funny thing is, of my team, I was one of the few that wasn't that good at seeing in dark places.
You would not last long in a cave, would you?
That's where these goggles come in. I can see things in a cave that are like right next to me, but if it's really far away, I couldn't see a thing. So I went to Eden and we talked for a while. One of my old ex-team members, Artemis, he helped me out with this. He got me a set of goggles that after a while we just got it fitted for my head, and surely enough, I can now see a lot more things.
I see.
Yeah.
I did not know such a thing existed.
Oh no, it's really useful. Oh, hello there. How are you doing?
The Rockroach just
Eat
sort of
them.
looks over at the others and is like, "Hey!" Oh, sorry. And Zoro just kind of stares at her before shaking his head.
I take it that duel that was outside is already over.
Yeah. Oh, you were watching that too.
No, we caught
You
glass.
are again.
We caught the conclusion, I think.
Well, it certainly was a duel. Hey, Killa, I'm here to return the book that I borrowed.
Oh. Out of character, can you remind me of the Rockwell's name?
Leela.
Oh, excellent. Thank you, Leela.
And she sort of smiles and wags her tail. It's very informative. I never knew moves
And
like
you-
that existed.
I'll surely help you on your adventures. Have you... So how'd the duel go?
Well, I didn't really see all that much that I haven't seen from them before, but the way they fight is certainly interesting. I've never seen it before.
The finishing blow looked like it particularly hurt.
Oh, you mean the
Well, I'm
second
sure-
cut? Yeah.
Sure get to see, good moves during your times as a rescuer. Maybe even come up with one or two of your own. Right, Ruben?
Yeah. How long have we been messing around with trying to make our own moves?
You two had
And
one
succeeding.
move that I'll let them tell this story, but you guys had a really good team move for a while.
Oh, are you talking about Wildfire?
Yes.
Ah, wildfire.
I'll still
And
do
he
it.
and he leans in close, like the kind of tender closeness. Do well for your teammates. Practice working moves in tandem. You might just find a combination that works and hits hard. Meanwhile, Padrock is staring back at Leela, his head cocked so that he can't know that she's actually close enough for him to actually see the flowers on her neck.
He's like, hey, I haven't seen you before.
Yeah, I'm new in town. Nice to meet you.
Well, I'm Leela. Nice to meet you. What's your name?
Badrock. There's a noticeable half second to a second pause before he says his name.
Oh, Padrock, that's a nice name. Well, I'm Leela.
Thank you.
Do you get your name from
Don't
your
mind
typing?
asking.
I'm sorry?
Do you get your name from your typing?
Oh, my typing? Well, I am a grass type. But no, I was named this when I was born, long before I changed type.
I see.
How?
I'm sorry,
Where?
Patrick, you were saying?
Where did you become Where did you find the type water?
Well, I was somewhere near Cassia Town. Oh, I don't know. The ruins outside of the town, they're a little hard to navigate, but I did find some water, and well, I was parched, and I really needed to take a break, so I took a drink, and something strange happened to me. I didn't really understand what.
His head slightly bobbed. I see. It looks nice.
I think
You almost can't tell the difference until you see the flowers.
well, they're a little annoying sometimes, but I get used to them.
Why is that?
I don't think anyone really knows how hard it is to be a grass type with flowers growing on you and having to keep them trimmed, and it's just so annoying.
Leela,
Yes?
do you see the tip of my ear right now? Do you see how it's capped?
Yeah, there's some kind of crystal on it.
Yes. You cannot move any of the fur that is linked to it away from itself. Imagine how difficult that is to brush.
Oh, that's not annoying.
It's not particularly sharp, at least.
Oh, that's good at least. But yeah, we're Team Blackthorne. This is Farah, Nathaniel, and Trevor. And again, my name is Leela.
So, how does a nice-looking team like yours end up with a name like Blackthorne?
That was sort of Nathaniel's choice.
I knew it.
Hey, where are you talking about?
Taking it from experience, all it takes is one person to come up with a name, and everyone else to agree with it.
It's a really cool name. I told you. I told you people would like it.
It is a nice name.
Oh, when you have a dark type and a grass type together, I guess it makes sense.
Trevor just sort of snickers and is sitting next to Nathaniel. And his tail is sort of like laid over Nathaniel's.
Padrock looking over the group. He said, yeah, there's another team I want to ask if any of you have heard of.
Yes?
Darkstorm.
Darkstorm? That's a weird name, but I haven't heard of it before.
Somebody agrees with me.
Well, we encountered them on our last mission.
Weird.
They seem pretty interested in Patrick here, so figure if they're gonna try and take another swing at us, be good to have him by our side.
Well, if we ever run into him, we'll show him what for.
Now be careful.
I'm
We may have beaten
Glad
them
I
this
haven't
time, but you just keep your wits about you and don't do anything I wouldn't do.
Leela, I feel like I can trust you with some information.
Go on.
The Pidgey. Do not take him for granted. He is most likely a psychic type.
Oh,
Make sure your
his type
Zoroark
changed too, huh?
Make sure the Zoroark focuses on him. You might have an easier time.
Hey, I can handle the psychic types too. The Zora over here is just like, shh.
Well, if you have two,
Edra
then
smiles.
yes. Having two of them is definitely better. I don't think the Pidgey pit will be much of an issue.
Edra smiles. Good to know that there's going to be another team on the lookouts for them.
We'll show them whose spots that they come after us.
Well, here's to hoping you can. Those guys are trouble. That said, I should probably find Rain to read him in on the whole thing. Just to see if he knows anything else that I can get out of him.
Oh, if anyone knows anything, our Guildmaster should.
Alright. Levi? Alvi? Patrick, are we ready to head out?
It would seem it's about that time, yes.
Yeah, let's get on out of here.
Alright. Good talking with you all.
You all take care.
Oh, you too.
Reuven, Kua, I'll see you two later.
Stay safe out there.
Hope you all have a nice day. Maybe have a good chance to see our selection out here.
Well, farewell, you guys.
Yeah.
She sort of just gives Patrick another smile and waves the others off.
It's interesting,
Edra.
you know?
Huh?
Edra, as he's passing by Leela, his eyes linger curiously on the rock roof, looking from, mostly curiously glancing at her tail.
I believe she likes you.
Nah. Probably just curious about the newcomer.
I don't know what to believe right now, but I'll keep going.
What's the matter, Levi?
Just realizing some rumors are just what they are. Rumors. Those two are just so likable.
I felt that intention earlier.
You mean
Reuven and Kua?
Yes.
They're some of the easiest people to get along with. And granted, Reuven can be a bit of a dork, but I guess that just comes with the territory of knowing that much stuff about that many things.
did you see how easily the Reuven just hopped up on his back?
Hopped up on his what?
Reuven hopped
back.
up onto
Reuven.
his back really easily, like without a second thought. Kua didn't even seem bothered by it.
I mean, they
probably
did that
practiced.
a bunch back in the day.
I guess goes to show when you trust your team. Although I'm curious about that ability, that mention of making abilities.
I mean,
Oh,
you really gotta
Me-
know your team inside and out for that kind of stuff to work out. So, and we
you
got
not thought
time.
about you're
Would it be
done growing
similar
up?
to a? Would it be similar to a culmination attack?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's what he was talking about.
Hmm.
Maybe sometime tomorrow we can ask them what that wildfire was. I want to see it for myself. But still, they're interesting.
Oh, that would be the fun. That would be the day when somehow a rock type and a fire type create what's called a meteor.
Now that's something I'd pay money to see happen.
It's a shame that the dragons have already beat us to it.
No.
Well, maybe you
What?
guys can put your own spin onto it. But let's see if we can catch Rain before he goes into his afternoon nap.
He's not that old, is he?
I mean, he and Apollo were roughly the same age, and Apollo was an old puppo.
Bedrock looks to Levi. Did you hear not so flattering rumors about the two?
Like what?
Like, he's asking Levi.
A little more than that. Team New Dawn, while successful in their task, they didn't use the most. They didn't use really. They weren't really successful in the task, and that's good and all. But the people in the team were not the best people.
Well, I mean, Donovan was like a petty fraudster before he came to the Rescuers. Yeah, I suppose working with Apollo and the other members of the team kind of set him straight.
Desperate times call for desperate measures, I guess.
Suppose so. I suppose so.
Weird times makes for strange bedfellows, as they say, I guess.
That's
Is that Rain there?
That's him.
yeah, that's him.
Ta-da.
I was just about to go looking for you over at the guild hall. Apollo called over to Rain.
Oh. Well, how can I help you?
Have you ever heard the name Darkstorm before?
Darkstorm. Team Darkstorm.
Yes. We encountered them on our last mission.
Is that so?
We had a particular interest in Patrick here. Thankfully, we chased them off and got Patrick back here safely, as you can see. But, I was wondering if they were already on our radar.
A little more than rumors and hearsay, but
Would it help if you knew what Pokemon types they were?
it would help me to know what types they were as well as what Pokemon were in that team.
There was a type-changed Pidgey.
Psychic.
Yeah, Psychic specifically.
I see.
There was a
Anything else?
Zigzagoon. Standard Zigzagoon. Mighty, well, not a Mighty, but a Poochie. Enna.
Yeah.
And what was the last one?
And a Shanks. Padrock says, rubbing his neck where the Shanks has slammed into it.
That was the
Any of
final.
them? Do you have the names of any of them?
Out of character, I know Apollo would remember, but I am IRL drawing a blank.
Yeah, Luffy wouldn't have heard any of the names.
I'll whisper straight real quick. There you go.
Well, by names, Rascuo was the Puchiana, Ria was the Zigzagoon, Zeno was the Shinx, and Trell was the Pidgey.
Xena? Or
Zeno.
Xeno. And Rusio. Or should I better say Rusco?
Rusco, yes.
Yeah. Him in particular, I know exactly who he is.
Were they once
came-
here?
He came here some time back wanting to make a new team. It didn't last. He was more interested in making wounds than he was to heal them. More interested in causing trouble than he was to save lives. To make a difference in the world, rather. To make a difference in the world out of selflessness, rather than looking out for himself. And trying to use every person he encountered as an opportunity to boost himself forward.
So they are an official team.
No. They're an official team. It was not by my hand.
So if it wasn't you who made them official, who did?
There are other guilds across Cassia, as you well know. I'll have to ask around.
Well, we'll keep an eye on them just to be safe.
Well, I certainly hope you guys do. If my son ever runs into a team like that again and something happens to him, I don't know what I'd do. Just
Your
I'll be fine, Mom.
If
I'll
your
be
son
fine.
happens to run into a team like that again and gets hurt, well, he'll have allies at his back. He'll have allies at his side to make sure he can get back up and keep going. That's what a team is supposed to do.
well, thank
Looking around the team, the group behind me, they're still learning, but they're getting there.
Well, thank you. I'm so glad that Patrick has found some friends that he can rely on. He was never a social kid.
Reminds me of myself.
If anybody was looking at him, even though a fur would hide any kind of blush, his expression would definitely betray a flush at that.
Tell me, does Luffy notice this?
It would
No,
have to be
definitely,
perception.
definitely if you're standing right next to him.
Oh, right. That's perception. Oops. There we go.
Now you'd easily notice.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
Rest assure you, though, ma'am. While at least one of them is still wounded, which... How are you coming along, Levi? I'm recovering, mostly. I can walk. I am feeling a little pain, but the pain kid... Yeah, I gotta take another dose really soon.
Well, they said you were
I'm
supposed to
fine.
take that thing tonight.
Yeah, but the pain's coming back.
Well,
Don't rush medicine.
yeah, like, that'll actually, like, screw up your organs, like, worse than what happened to the old guild master.
Take it from me, who has actually been experienced in medical procedures. Do not rush medicine.
Okay. I'm sorry. I can wait.
If you
Nice
need any
try.
kind of pain relief, I would suggest eating an orange berry. Those do help pain a little bit. But I highly suggest not taking those pain relievers any more than you need to.
Got it. I get it. I heard it. I understand. You don't have to drill it into me. I got you.
That said-
What are you
More likely,
doing?
More
I'm
like
just letting them
horn
know.
trillets.
With that, that was the only other thing I needed to speak to you about. Trust you've been doing all right, Rain?
Aside from the paperwork, it's been fine. Getting a chance to meet up with different people, different guilds, work with different people. It's nice.
Hey, you know I do half of that.
Yes, and I appreciate it. More than you know.
I honestly have to wonder how they use a pencil. Is it similar to that cast that one of the medics use?
Oh, you mean Anik? Well, his was kind of specially made. He doesn't exactly have fingers, so they made him a special sort of cover for his flippers that lets him write. He's actually quite talented with it. I'm really impressed.
Well, whatever works, I suppose.
What Rain does is just pull out a small glove that has an attachment along what would be their left furthest most digit. Slipping it on, it looks like there's a point on the end of it. But as he puts down his hand, he just shows briefly on a napkin that he can at least write down a number of things very easily. He's basically writing with his finger.
Interesting.
It's quite simple.
All right. Well, I'll go ahead and get out of your hair there, but that's all I have to report on for now.
Understood. Thanks for the information. I'll keep an ear out for Team Darkstorm. In the meantime, I'm pretty sure there's going to be another mission coming up for you guys very soon. When Levi's healed up, expect to have some work to do.
Yes, sir. With that,
Levi.
Apollo would bow himself away from the table.
What's up, Elodie?
Oh, never mind. They vanished. I was about to ask if that was the one that was a little awkward earlier.
The naked? Yes, that was it. That was it.
I also noticed something, but maybe it's just me.
What is it?
Laying
no.
down here is like, I wouldn't really worry about her much. I've seen her around plenty of times. She acts a little shady, but she honestly doesn't really mean bad.
Well, that would explain the awkward behavior.
For a moment, I thought she was trying to take my stuff.
Well,
Highly
I'd keep an eye on your stuff, but I wouldn't worry too much.
Right.
Hey, Saline, could you get us another drink? Oh, certainly.
Although, hey, Apollo,
That's my name.
if it's all the same to you, I'm gonna swing by Sunrose, grab one of those berries, and I'm gonna probably go lay down. I've done my walk around the town. I think it's about time I lay down for a bit.
All right.
You guys can keep doing whatever you need to do in town.
Thanks
I'm
for the tour.
gonna rest.
I knew it. I knew that Frankson had an odd color to her.
Oh, you mean Saline over there?
Oh, you could call him a her, but she doesn't mind.
Yeah, sorry. I meant to say him. I forgot.
Oh, don't worry. Most call me a she. I don't really mind it.
Yeah. One of these days I'll get it right.
But you were talking about my color? Well, let's just say I'm not really from around here. Neither is Lane.
Huh. Considering the general consensus seems to be type change around here, I was thinking that you may have been one as well.
Oh, no. I'm not. Let's just say Saline has some unusual quirks, but they're definitely not type changed.
So another one of those scenarios of pigmentation.
You could say that.
So first a Ninetales with that was a 9 type change but had blue fire, and now a Breakson with pink fur.
They come from all corners.
Oh, you... Ninetales with blue fire, you're talking about Serenity?
Yeah, that's the one.
Oh no, she's not type changed, not at all.
No, she confirmed that much.
She works for a very special dragon back where she came from. I don't really know his name, but he's large, has white fur, and blue eyes, and he creates blue fire just like she does.
She did mention that she was blessed with that particular quirk from a higher power. I never did get the chance to ask. We should probably catch up with Levi, however.
Well, he's just overdoing a bit of grocery shopping.
Do you think I should grab a med kit for him, just in case?
I don't think that's really necessary. I mean, Elizabeth's already put him on an ibuprofen regimen. That should be enough.
Well, I mean, just in case we end up coming across another one of those. You never know.
Never a bad idea to have at least one of those on your person.
As they start to head off, Padrock will quickly step over to his mom, giving her a quick hug before catching up with the others.
Elisa sort of just hugs her son back and smiles to him. It's like, I hope you do well. I'm gonna have to return home, but just let me know anything that happens, okay? And
to that,
visit home.
He gives her a small nod before catching up. I'll be safe.
And she brings the teacup over to Emmy and sets it down before wandering off. Rain?
Yes?
Thank you for taking care of my son.
As though he was one of my own.
I really appreciate it. I'll see you around, okay?
Take care.
So, what was this Ninetales name again?
The white one?
No, talking about this one.
Jericho.
Oh, that's Jericho, okay. Hello again, Jericho.
Hello again, Alavi. How are you doing?
We're about to head back. I decided that we may need a first aid pack for the road ahead, just in case.
Never hurts to have at least one. Lord knows my brother used them all the time for some people, myself included. At any rate, it's going to be 250 poke. But I can go ahead and grab one for you immediately.
Apollo, that is a correct pricing for it, right?
It does seem a little steep compared to what it was the first time I saw those things on sale, but I mean, if you know what you're doing with those kinds of things, you can make one of those things go a long way. So, yeah, I'd say it's definitely worth the investment.
All right. He just pops out the poke, though a little bit haphazardly, since he can't really figure out how to hold these things. And produces 250. And
Oh, thank you. One moment. Just go over here. Grab one of these. Do a quick whisper. And so I had a word with Anak. Here is a first aid kit, as well as 100 poke back. I we have a feeling you'll need it a bit more in your future ventures.
Oh. Thank you, I suppose. I wasn't expecting... Oh.
Think nothing of it. That said, if you guys need anything else, please let us know, and we'll see what we can do.
In the case of items, do you just manually type these things in, or...?
Yeah,
Yes.
you click add and then you type it in.
Where's that at?
And I will actually bring up the description.
It's
It's at the bottom left
Like
of the
cash.
page.
like it should
Yeah,
be
I
the
see-
thing
I see
right
it,
in
I
the
see it.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, good. Eh. I'll not take up any more of your time.
So Levi already went back to the guild, did he?
Yes, said the pain was coming back, so he needed to lie down.
Well, at least he's taking it easy.
Yeah, I saw him come through earlier. He was talking to Sunrose, but the moment he concluded with that, he quickly made it back to the guild.
Well, just make sure he doesn't stress himself too much, alright?
I'll make sure to keep an eye on him.
Thank you. Last thing I need
Okay.
is for him to come back here with even more injuries.
I can always just make a quick cold compress and go take it over to him.
Well,
I
you could
won't
go
stop
over
you.
there and apply the cold compress yourself, couldn't you? Apollo's obviously joking with this.
Jericho looks over. He's not sure if he's joking or not. Like, I have no problem doing that.
And it just...
I'm being facetious, just so we're clear.
What do you intend to do? Breathe ice on him?
Precisely. That or put it on a separate apparatus and put it on his body.
Panic just kind of snorts and is like, I'm not going to stop you. Just make sure you be gentle. Got it?
Of course.
All right. Let's go check it on Levi, and then I'm going to see if Casters decided to leave Dreamland.
Probably not. He seemed like he was pretty out of it.
I have not seen him out of the guild at any point, so I imagine he's still asleep.
Well, maybe Allura gave him a little extra dose of sweet dreams.
Mhm.
As they pass by the gardens, his eye, he'll slow down, taking kind of half steps as he looks out at the fields of bushes.
Nice touch for the town.
Oh, yeah, it just reminds me of home. It's part of the only part of town that feels like it.
Let's ease up on going too far, though, until Bryce steps back.
Yeah, we're just going to take ourselves back into the guild hall.
And there's somebody waiting for us.
Hello.
That's also his, so I'm going to wait for him.
Maybe a little scene to ourselves while he's away. Padrock turns to follow. So you... I guess you grew up knowing you were going to be a rescuer, huh?
Not really. Back when I was still learning how to talk, both mom and dad wanted to let me know, one, they loved me unconditionally, and two, that whatever it was I wanted to be, so long as it wasn't something that was going to involve hurting anyone or breaking the law, they would support me in that pursuit. I looked around at a lot of stuff, thought about maybe like going into law or something like that, but I guess I took after my dad as far as being adventurous, and I wanted to become a rescuer. They were both very proud of me when I made that decision.
Huh.
They're both really cool people. So people always say that they're afraid of my mother, and I guess I could sort of understand why they're like that, but she is a very sweet person.
Yeah. Yeah, her name came up quite a bit in my studies, so
Yeah.
definitely say that her power has definitely been emphasized.
No. Can't say I've really seen too much of the power that's been written about her myself, but she definitely has the power to get my dad to take a deep breath and calm down whenever he gets particularly irritated about something. And anytime I'm ever feeling down or just not really motivated to do much of anything, she has a way of fixing that for me. She's cool like that.
Okay.
Hey, Jericho.
Hello there.
Ah, you're all back.
Well, I was going back to check in on Levi and Castor.
Well, Levi went back to his room. What's going on with Castor? I have no idea. He's probably still asleep.
Yeah, he's definitely still asleep then. So, what's the occasion for everyone being gathered in the hall like this?
I don't know. You all came in here.
Okay.
Leave that. Oh, sorry. Excuse me. Me just. To explain, the reason why I'm here is because I saw Levi come in, had someone walk in, decided to investigate. Levi said he was going to his bed, explained that he was feeling pain, so he's off in his room, laying down.
Okay.
Well, you're all free to have a meal if you want.
I'll catch up with you guys in a bit. I'm gonna check in on Levi.
Where's the...
He says over to Alavi and Padrock.
Can catch up? You know, catch up with us, I guess. So where's the dining hall?
The dining hall is over here. But you can always go upstairs and get some food.
Alright. These stairs over here?
Yes. Just don't disturb any of the teams up there.
Okay. And he'll head up to get some food.
I hope my laptop temporarily reloading this stream didn't mean the stream cut out.
It
Stream
shouldn't
on
have.
still seems good on my end.
But anyways,
All right. Right here, Apollo's just checking on Levi. Well, Sleeping Beauty over there is still sleeping. So, how are those ribs feeling, Levi?
The pain is a lot more dense. It went from being nothing to now being something to kind of hurting, but now that I've laid down, it's not as bad.
No. Dinner served in the dining hall, so whenever you're done here with Jericho, Alvy and Patrick are in the next room. I'll see if I can save a few things for Castro over here.
You guys go ahead.
All right.
I'll be there momentarily. So what's going on, Jericho? I was just gonna do it. Just gonna do a small cold compress on your chest. Just hold still.
One of those moments of now, 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 now.
So, how have you guys been today? Get to see town pretty well?
Yeah, we saw the sights, got Patrick introduced to several people. We have a few things we need to discuss as a full team, but I need Castro here for that. Other than that, not a whole lot else. I mean, it's been pretty relaxed.
Well, it is New Treasure Town at least. We can always be sure it'll be safe here.
What I like about this place.
Although I
Just
did
right-
hear a little commotion down the street where I think a poor shroomish kind of got injured.
Oh yeah, they were trying to steal a reviver seed from the Kekleon brothers. Worked out about as well as you'd expect.
Oh dear.
They needed a
yes.
reviver seed after that.
Well, I'm sure Anik will take care of them and then give them a nice scolding.
I wonder. I actually heard a story. You can correct me on this if I get it wrong or miss a detail. But apparently, he can actually be kind of a savage when it comes to dealing with people who are just blatantly stupid when it comes to medicine. Like, there was one house call he made where there was a Gardevoir who was having trouble with like asthma or something, and apparently she wasn't using her inhaler correctly. Like, she was using that thing like a perfume bottle where she like sprays a bit of it on her neck.
Oh god, this again.
Oh,
And,
I've heard that story so many times.
Akuo was just like, so Anik, what were you guys discussing in there? Alolan chicken recipes.
Jerk.
Yes. That was exactly what that particular patient called Anak. I'm just amazed that like he actually remembered to say that after hearing just that one word.
Linsilla just sort of shakes her head, grinning. Well, if anything, he has patience for people who give him patience.
He's cool like that.
Alright. Is there anything else that Levi and Jericho are doing up here?
I think aside from me probably bringing Jericho over, Levi is going to be. Well, he's gonna have to get his food brought to him. He's not moving for a little while.
It's like, I knew it. Literal moment of, no.
So,
He can move. It's not like he's frozen to the bed or something. He's just
No. It's like cold presses, as in, oh god.
so the team will most likely spend the rest of the day just in town. I think we've about seen the majority of the town, talked to most of the people. But if you guys think that's about enough, then we can probably end session here.
Yeah, it's
that
almost four-
that is
it's
totally
almost-
fine.
Yeah, it's
I
almost
just have
4
one
hours.
question before the session ends.
Mm-hmm.
What's for dinner?
Depends on what you want to make.
Self-serve.
Oh, it's not a pre-made thing for all the teams?
They have chefs upstairs, and as a note, I didn't make the map for the upper floors because don't need it. But
Yeah, I was.
there are chefs up there that make meals for the entire guild.
One of those self-served kind of things, I guess. I wouldn't say that's self-served with the chef.
Well,
But
they
yeah,
got some of the best people up there.
I was picturing a cafeteria line kind of thing.
Nah.
Alubi's going to see some spicy food and be like, ooh.
Well, if you ever go back to Lacey's Garden, I'm pretty sure you can get some spicy food. But as for now, I think that's probably enough for the night.
Yeah,
Sounds good.
it's almost 4 hours. We went a whole hour over what we
Yeah.
usually do.
Whoops.
Well, we had
It's
fun, didn't we?
fine. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's fine.
that's-
Honestly,
That was a.
And I understand we were a man down tonight, but I am aware that fecal matter doth occur, and hopefully we can get back at this with the full crew.
Eat.
Next week, hopefully we can.
say thankfully it was just a town session this way. And we got a med kit.
All right.
And with that, we are at the conclusion of the session. What do you guys think? First town session of the campaign?
I liked it,
Humpy.
and getting around to speak with everyone was a lot of fun.
Leela's a sweetheart.
Yes, Leela is precious.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to seeing more of that character. It was
Say
definitely
precious grass rough.
definitely fun. Wasn't expecting to play Kua, but that was a nice little bit.
I enjoyed the fact that I got to play 3 of my characters back to back.
Yeah.
Technically
Well,
4.
technically 5 if you count Z, but I'm glad I got a chance to just bounce around a bit on that.
I gotta
We
look up.
missed the sapphire moment, though.
Yeah,
I mean,
Yeah, don't worry about
we
it.
didn't see
We'll
Scott.
get-
It's
we'll get
fine.
Scott in here some other time.
Yeah, he's probably tired today.
I messaged Scott and they said that they can right now, so we'll get him
Eh.
sometime.
I'm pretty sure
Scott is
there will
busy,
be a
Dirk.
moment where we can probably grab one or 2 members of Team New Dawn just to run a dungeon with us.
Maybe
Probably
get
needs a bit
Mako.
more to head up.
Remember, they're not a rock rough, they're a grass rough after all.
This is true,
Maybe if we get super lucky,
Doesn't
we'll
that
get
make them
Mako
a
here
turf
sometime.
rough?
if we're lucky.
Yeah,
So when they
Mako.
evolve-
Mako is super busy.
Well, also around this time, Mako's doing Savage raids, so
Yeah.
unless something happens on their end that stops
He's
them
also-
from pulling the group together,
He's also streaming right now, playing Darkest
Gee.
Dungeon.
Mako's streaming. Mako's got 18 people. Gigabyte Dragon is actually streaming Pokemon Legends and
Oh,
has 4
boy.
people. So,
We can raid her, and
Raid.
as a note, spoilers, so
Lichen
aware.
Grass.
but let's see.
Grass rough and lichen grass. Yes.
So, with that, I will see you all next week. This channel
same
is
time, same place.
Yep.
I can already tell.
And I hope you all enjoy the next session. So, we will now be raiding Gigabyte Dragon and have at her. See y'all later.
Bye, everyone.
Take care, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining.